Assalamu alaikum and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us today. Today webinar enhancing performance through organizational effectiveness. Just to give you a brief interview about Mr. Amar Iqbal. Mr. Amar has hands-on experience in operational and strategic management. His experience is multifaceted with leading organizations in Pakistan. He is a mechanical engineer by qualification and has worked in different functional environments. Mr. Amar has progressed from frontline management position to board level positions. He has worked with legendary organizations including ICI Pakistan, Cricket Bankister, Philips Electrical Industries Pakistan Limited, Hashim Group, Mondelez Pakistan, and Aman Foundation. After spending 29 years in corporate world, he has partnered with other specialists and has started a consulting firm, Optimum Advisory. And today he is representing Optimum Advisory. So Amar Saab, over to you now. The screen will be all yours. You can start the session. Thank you.
Ji, Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to this session on enhancing performance through organizational effectiveness. As Ushna already told, my name is Amar Iqbal and I'm a mechanical engineer. I started my career with ICI Pakistan Limited and I have worked with Reckitt and Coleman, Philips Electronics, Hashu Group, Cadbury Chocolates and Amantak. And since I started my career, I have been taught to practice this theory of management by objectives, because that is the most critical part for any organization to manage its goal, and in order to align everyone within the organization from top to bottom so that they are pulling the organization in one direction. I'm really excited to see the participants of this session, and I'm sure you people have also done work and have been in practice with this process, but just to get it more into the detail and just to see that what is the right way of its implementation, we will go through this session. So the learning objective for this session today is to understand and familiarize with the concept of management by and to better understand the performance measurement system. So the learning objective is to understand and familiarize with the concept of management by objectives and to better understand the performance management system, because management of objective and performance management measurement system are interlinked with each other. Then we'll move on to the key behaviors of highly effective managers, and this is based on Stephen Covey's book on 7 habits, which is very popular book and it has been selling since 1989. And finally, we'll also understand the concept of the time management metrics, because if we are not managing our time, probably we are spending a lot of time on activities which are not needed to be done by a particular person, but those tasks can also be delegated to someone else to perform that duty. The contents that we are going to cover in this webinar is management by objectives, and the main purpose is translating your strategy into action. This will also cover the performance management system, that how the benefits and the final appraisals are linked with the management of objective, and then a balanced scorecard, which is a cockpit view of any business. Then we'll move on to 7 habits of highly effective managers, which is based on Dr. Stephen Covey's book, as I told you earlier, and then 7 actions for a successful career. This is more important for the people who are in their initial or the mid stage of their career, that what they need to do to be successful in their career. So we starts with the elements of an organizational effectiveness. In any organization, be it a small organization or it's a big organization, there are three basic ingredients or elements that runs an organization. One is a leadership that provides the vision and strategy and the values for that organization. The other one is the human resource that is there to implement the idea, the strategies that are coming in from the leaders. And this is surrounded by various systems and processes, which includes there has to be a proper communication system between the leadership and the human resource. There has to be a mechanism of accountability. And there has to be a common set of measurements to track that in what direction the organization is moving and how healthy an organization is. So this is the basic for an organization to run. Now I'll go to the management by objective. And management by objective is actually, it covers that how organizational goals are deployed to the employees and followed by the performance management system and upon the business balance scorecard that is being used for checking the health of an organization. Management by objective is a strategic management model, and it aims to improve the performance of an organization by clearly defining objectives that are agreed to by both management and employees. So important part is that both employees and management have to own those goals. According to the theory, which was initially given by a person called Peter Drucker in 1954, he was a management guru in his book, The Practice of Management. What happens is that if we look at this pyramid, the top part is the values, and values are like, जैसे हम लोग एक हमारी families होती हैं, family की values होती हैं कि हमने झूठ नहीं बोलना है, बड़ों की इज्जत करनी है, कोई गलत काम नहीं करना. इसी तरह हर organization की values होती हैं, and those values are defined by the top leadership team, or maybe by the CEO, which is owned by the leadership team. इसके साथ साथ फिर आपका जो next step होता है, that is your vision for that organization, that where this organization wants to go, or where the stakeholders or the CEO or the leaders, they want to see that organization in a period of 5 years, 10 years, or 15 years. So that is what the vision is. And finally is a mission. Mission is that why do we actually, what is the purpose of our existence? तो ये ऊपर के जो तीनों part होते हैं pyramid के, these are the aspirational parts, and it gives that what are the beliefs and principles and ethics for that organization, where that organization wants to be in a given period of time, and what is the reason for the existence of that organization. So this is the top layer of the pyramid. And once that is defined, it is translated into strategic objectives. And strategic objectives are that how are we going to progress on our vision, mission, and implement the values. So once the strategic objectives or the top line objectives of an organization is defined, they are translated into actions and KPIs for individuals who are working in that organization. So what happens with this organization, with this model, is that the values, vision, and mission are aligned with every person working in that organization. So what happens is that anyone that is in that organization is pulling that organization towards the achievement of values, vision, and mission. If that is not done, then what happens is that all the people are working in the organization, but if they are not working in the same direction or for the same cause or for the same goal, uh, there comes dilution in the action and they start working against different directions. So the achievement of those goals becomes difficult. So it's just, it's a tool which is not a cure. So if that tool is followed, it gives organizations a process which has been successfully implemented in various organizations, and it clearly outlines the objectives and for each individual, and that provides the motivation for that individual to work in that direction. There is also a saying which I have put there, is that a goal which is without a plan is just a dream. So the planning part starts from strategic objectives and then the actions and the KPIs for that individual person. As I told that this model was first introduced by Peter Drucker in his book, The Practice of Management. This is a method of organizational planning. It's not I would say a cure, but it's a model, and it's a method that if it's followed, it takes into the right direction. What happens in this process is that all superiors and subordinates, they jointly work together to find out the common objectives, and that makes the best use of the organizational resources. And when translated into the style of management, it becomes a participative and democratic style of management. This then becomes basis for techniques of managing managerial performance. And because it's linked to the performance management, it's a tool and it's a method for rewarding the employees who are working throughout the year, that how does they perform against their objectives and where do they stand within the organization. So the management of MBO is to make that everyone within the organization has the understanding. Basic purpose is that everyone in the organization has the understanding that where the organization has to move over a given period of time. And this is basically provides the ownership to each individual for owning the top line objectives of the organization. Once the objectives are defined, then obviously the roles and responsibilities for each person within the organization are also defined, and they become clear that what one is supposed to do in order to move there. And it's a system for implementing the plans and systematically achieving the organizational goals. The first is, there are multiple steps in this model, and the first step is to either determine an organizational objective for the entire company. Then the broad view is derived from the firm's, which is derived from the firm's mission and vision. The second step is to translate that organizational objective to employees' objectives. The third step is the participation of employees in setting individual objectives. After the organization objectives are shared with employees from the top to the bottom, employees are encouraged to help set their own objective to achieve their larger organizational objective. This gives employees greater motivation since they have the empowerment of doing their objective. Then comes, which I'll cover later, is the fifth step, where the evaluation and reward of employees takes place. This step actually is providing the honest feedback on what was achieved and what is not achieved for each employees, and based on that, their next year's performance is based. Again, now I will first go into the strategy part, that how strategy of an organization is managed, and then how that goes into the key objective of individuals that I'll brief about. So as I said earlier, we define mission, values, and vision at the top level. And once that is done, how to achieve that is developed in a strategy part. And from there, the strategic success factors come in. Now, those strategic success factors are measured as a dashboard on an organizational wide basis. And this becomes the basis for the monthly management team or the board meetings, where one can see a cockpit view of the organization, that how healthy the organization, and is the organization moving in the right direction, or there has to be some areas where one needs to take some action to correct the trajectory. So balanced scorecard, if we look at any organization, I would say the main areas that one has to focus on is that you have satisfied shareholders, your customers are delighted with your services and products, your processes are so efficient and effective that the wastage or the non-value adding items on that process is minimum, and that your team is motivated and prepared to take to the next level the organization in achieving those goals. So if we look on these 4 areas, these can be divided into 4 key functions. The first function is the competence and the learning part, where involves the human resources. The second part is the processes part, where one looks at the process, that how effective and efficient the processes are, and are there any non-value adding items or sub-processes on that business key process that needs to be eliminated or redesigned. And once you have the right competent people and you have the right processes in place, you get a customer's delight and you get better financial results. So there are, out of these 4, there are 2 leading indicators, which is competence and the processes. If we fix them, the lagging indicators, the customers and financial results comes on their own, because they get what they need. And once you have the customers, the financial results are there. So this is basically the key for designing any scorecard of an organization. And then the key indicators for that organization falls under these 4 functions. So the financial results tells us that how the shareholders see us, because they are interested in the financials. Customer part is that how customers sees us. The processes, there are many processes running in an organization, but we also need to see what are the key processes that affects the customer and the financial result. And we need to first address those processes, and then we move on to various other processes. And the competency part, which is also a very important part, is that do we have the right resources in our organization to achieve those processes and to run those processes. So there comes the training part, where continuously people within the organization are being trained. So again, this says that the same thing, that create the competence to run the process, have the right process in place, and who are our key customers and how to delight them and what are their needs that can become the basis for doing various customer surveys to bring in various performance indicators that becomes part of the organization's continuous monitoring, and finally the financial results of that organization. Now, this is a simple scorecard development roadmap. What is done is that within all these areas that I have discussed, finance, customer, process, and learning, we introduce that what are the key projects that that organization needs to take in order to achieve the financial and customer results. So if we look at the financial part, the key areas that comes in of interest are that what is the return on net assets, what is the income from operation, what is the market share for that organization, how are the cash flows doing, and what are the inventory turns. Similarly, for customer, there are various indicators like what is the brand index for that particular brand or for the key brands of that organization, what are the customer service levels. If we are going for new product introduction, then what is the percentage of sales for that organization, and relative performance where one can compare the performance of the organization with previous years and with the competition. Then comes in the key processes that needs to be handled, that how the assets are utilized, how the planning process is taking place, what are the product mix that needs to be followed and taken on the growth path, and similarly that what are the cycle time in order to meet the customer satisfaction. On the learning side, there are a number of things which can come in. One is the technical learning, which one can always look for the advancement in an organization, that if a new, I would say, technology is coming in, or if a new system is coming in, then people who are going to operate it or who are going to work on that should be part of that. Like many organizations, they implement SAP. So again, in order to run the SAP, we need people who know how to run the SAP. So they need training. There has to be, I would say, a systematic method to improve the processes within an organization. So quality improvement projects should be there. Then when there are people at a top leadership level, they should have a good, I would say, coaching skills so that they can coach their organization. And similarly, improving the purchasing processes and improving the manufacturing excellence process. And when this scorecard is given a final shape, it looks like something like this. It has multiple columns. The first column is the main function, which is linked to a particular stakeholders, to a particular strategic success factor. So if I look at financial, then the top strategic success factor is that shareholders are satisfied. And the performance measure for that to satisfy us shareholder is that the returns are good. So, and based on that, the targets are identified, and what initiatives are taken in order to meet that target are also put into the last column. So in similar manner, for each function, and within each function, the strategic success factors are defined, and for each strategic success factor, a performance measure, which is the most important performance measure for that strategic success factor, is highlighted, and the targets are set for that. And this template, which is called a typical scorecard template is measured in organizations in their management team meetings to see the health of an organization and to see that whatever was planned, is the organization moving in the right direction or it is not moving in the right direction. So again, whatever I have already said, the same is being given in this organization. The basic principle is cascading of organizational top line vision and objective to each member. This has to be, there has to be a timeline for each of these objectives, which is followed by at quarterly and annual level on performance evaluation and feedback mechanism. It's a participative way of management and it encourages and support, it gets encouragement and support from superiors as well. It focuses on achieving the goals mainly, but not on methodologies. Yes, methodologies have to be there, but the main focus is on the goal. And this provides a better communication within the organization from top line to the bottom line, to the bottom staff, to coordinate within the goals and objectives of the organization. So if I put that in a, I would say, a process flow diagram, start of an MBO process takes place with an strategic objectives where an organizational objectives are set, and these are translated into a business balance scorecard. These objectives are then cascaded down to employees, which actually in many organizations happens in a way where a policy deployment workshop takes place, where CEO of an organization comes in and tells that, okay, this is my vision for the organization, these are our values, this is our mission, and based on that vision, mission, and values, these are our strategic objectives. Then what happens within that workshop is that all the people, they go into various workshops, or I would say team exercises where on a functional basis. And then for that function, they come up with the objectives for that department or function, and then that is translated into individual objectives. So what happens is that this encourages the participation in goal setting. So one cannot say that, okay, this is a goal that has been given to us. But actually what happens is that everyone is part of that goal setting exercise. So that brings in the motivation and on top of everything, the ownership to achieve that. Then on a quarterly basis, these performances are monitored for individuals and on a monthly basis for the organization at a strategic level. And at the end of the year, the performance appraisal exercise takes place for each individual of an organization, and they are evaluated that where do they stand on their goals and how good have they performed on their goals. And once that is done, then based on that evaluation, the reward and reprimand is based. And then the cycle repeats for the next year, and this goes on and on and on. Again, as I already said, that it develops a result-oriented philosophy. It's people define the goals as per their requirement. It facilitates the objective appraisal. It raises the employees' morale, facilitates effective planning. It's a motivational force. It controls the organizational movement. It facilitates the development of personal leadership, and it becomes the basis for an organizational change. That organization is changing in the right direction because things are becoming more of, I would say, the process and system based rather than personality based. So everything is crystal clear. Now, actually the goals, they have to be smart. And what smart means is that they have to be specific. I'll give details about it in the next slides. They have to be measurable, they have to be achievable, they have to be realistic, and are to be time bound. Now, this is a goal setting template which people use in order to define their objectives for a given year. So what happens is that the first column says that what is a goal. So, okay, we take an example that the person says that I want to build better relationship with my teams. Fine. So in order to define that goal, we have to be actually on a smart model. So smart model asks that specific answers, that who wants to do that, what needs to be done, when it's to be done, where it has to be done, and why it has to be done. So if I want to build better relationship with my team, I have to, what could be the specific ways of doing it? One is to have a two-way communication with the employees. The other thing is that there has to be no conflicts or minimum conflicts. And the superior or the supervisor has to have some coaching skills to coach the subordinates. Now, this gives some idea that how this can be a basic, I would say, the specific reason that what are the ways in which one can build a better relationship with the team. So what could be the measurable to this is that there's a less attribution in the department. Whenever there is a problem with a subordinate, they go to their bosses and issues and conflicts are resolved. It is not like that they are burning and they are getting hotter and hotter and end up in a blast. So what are the attainable areas that one can do in order to achieve this? For that, one is that the prioritize weekly employees one-on-one session. There has to be one-on-one sessions with the employees so that there is a process of dialogue between the boss and the subordinates. And if there are any grievances and any issues, they are sorted out over there. Coaching classes can be taken. If the boss is not equipped in coaching, then the person should take some coaching classes. And there should be some team building exercises within the department so that people are getting used to team working. So the relevant part is that there's a better relationship with the help of department and overall department goal of satisfaction and quality programming. And the time bound is that in how much time this has to be done. So based on these identification, like the goal was to, one wants to build better relationship with the team. What are the specifics related to that goal? What are the measurable items that can be put against that goals? What are the attainable actions that can be put to that goal? And how relevant these areas are in order to achieve the main goal, and what is the timeline to achieve that goal. So after reviewing all these smart areas, The SMART goal that comes up is that through increasing communication and team building, I will build better relationship with my team. I will take training to gain the needed coaching skills and prioritize weekly one-on-one meetings. I will also schedule 2 team building sessions. All these initiatives are to be completed by December 2020. Based on these efforts, employees will be proactive in discussing issues with me and problems will be resolved efficiently, which will ultimately lead to less attribution in my department. So this becomes a SMART goal. This is specific, it is measurable, it is attainable, it is relevant, and it is time bound. And this becomes part of an individual goal. And every year, every person takes around 5 to 7 main objectives or goals. And those goals are defined and arrived at in a way which I have just explained through this goal setting template. Now I'll come to another important part which is related to this is the PDCA cycle, which is plan, do, check, and act. So the planning part was where the communication or the policy deployment was taking place between the top leadership and the rest of the employees in order to identify the departmental and their personal objective based on the strategic objectives. The do part comes in when those objectives are finalized and their implementation starts taking place. Then comes the check part, where the strategic objectives are monitored on a monthly basis and the personal objectives are monitored on a quarterly basis. And if there is an issue or a drawback or something which is not up to the mark, then the fourth part is an act part where certain actions are taken in order to align those objectives and strategic goals so that we reach to the right destination towards the end of the year. So this is a PDCA cycle, which is plan, do, check, and act cycle. Performance management comes in towards the end of the year. When the objectives are set at the beginning of the year, quarterly reviews take place, as I told earlier, then annual review meetings, and then what happens is that final agreement is arrived at between the subordinate and the supervisor. There are multiple ratings for evaluating the performance, like it's outstanding performance, exceeds expectations, achieve expectations, partially met expectations, and below standards or below expectations. So the agreement is arrived at after the review of performance at the end of the year between the supervisor and the subordinates. And based on that, the employee is given that rating for that organizer for that year. Based on that, the one is the your reward mechanism is built on that, and they also agree for the next year's objective because the exercise has already been taken place for the policy deployment for that year, and after that the fine tuning of the next year objectives takes place. This becomes also basis for increments, promotions, and development planning of the employees. This is a typical performance management appraisal form. And nowadays, many organizations have moved on to online performance appraisal, but this is a typical hard copy of a performance appraisal. What happens in the performance appraisal or performance management appraisal form is that the person is evaluated on the values, that how a person is performing on the values of the organization. For example, if one of the value is team working, then is that person good at collaborating or not? So one part of it is the performance measure against the values, and the second part is against the performance objectives, that how is or has the person moved during the year against the agreed objectives for driving the organizations, for the organization. And once those are done, then each objective and each value is rated, that on a scale of 1 to 4 or 1 to 5 where the person stands. And once that is done for each objective and each value, then comes in the overall appraisal rating for that person. Is it outstanding performance, or it's below standard, or it's average, or it's exceeding expectations? Once that is done, then the I would say the performance appraisal cycle or the management objective cycle comes to an end, and then next year planning starts. So this is all about the management by objective and the strategic management goals definition, then to the defining and writing down the SMART objectives, and then the performance appraisal system in order to evaluate that how the person has done on that objective. Is there any question or anything that someone would like to ask at this point, or shall I move on to the next part?
Participants who would like to ask any question, they can just write us to the chat box so that Amir Saab can read the questions and can just answer the queries right away.
Hello, sir. Assalamu alaikum. This is Iqbal Hussain. I would like to know about implementation of the. It's very basic. It's very good for the every organization. Your performance, but when we go to implementation stage, there comes many issues like conflict. You also touched about conflict resolutions between boss and the subordinate. How can we go through towards the object-oriented goals? How can we resolve the issues?
Okay. Like the first thing is that whenever this system is being implemented, it is very, very important that the organization should go through a training session on objective setting and performance appraisal. If that training is not done, then it will not gain its I would say expected results, because people are not aware that how are we supposed to do this exercise. And what happens is that it just becomes a paper exercise and just a paper filling activity to do one thing which is just needs to be done. So the basic thing is that one should always have a training on implementing the objective settings and the performance appraisal exercise. That is the top line. The second thing is that people should own this process and should have a belief in them that this is for the betterment of the organization and for the individuals. Because it is taken as a burden in a lot of organizations, and when something becomes burden, it becomes, I would say, a stressful activity. So it's very important that people should learn it in detail, that what is the purpose of this exercise and what are the benefits of this exercise. Once they come to know that, they start owning it, and then things start moving out. The other thing is that whenever you start a new thing in your organization, there is always a reluctance to take that change. And it takes its time to streamline things. Like you must have heard about the activities or forming, norming, performing, and storming and performing. So it goes through those cycles before you start getting the results out of it. If you talk of top organizations in the world like GE, or I would say Philips Electronics or Boeing or Motorola or Nokia, they are all implementing it, and they are actually getting good results out of it. One more important thing is that in order to initiate this exercise, there has to be a policy deployment workshop where the top leadership is there and the entire organization is there. And I would say a setup of dialogue take place, that these are the strategic objectives to achieve that, what needs to be done, so that the departmental objectives are drilled down from there. And those are agreed at all the levels, and then it is translated into the personal objectives of the staff. So the important thing is training, ownership, and communication. If that is done, the exercise becomes effective. The next part is, which is very, very, I would say, interesting part, and it's very close to my heart as well, is that the 7 habits of highly effective people. And this is based on Stephen Covey's book, which he wrote in 90s. But before I go into that, I just want to tell you that what a habit is. There are 3 areas. One is a knowledge. You have a knowledge of that what is good, what needs to be done for that, and how you can achieve that. Then there is another circle, which is the skill, that how competent a person is in order to use that knowledge in order to move into that direction. And the third part is the desire part, that how motivated a person is to do something in using the knowledge and the skill. So the area where this area is the habit which is developed in that person, which is a combination of knowledge, skill, and desire. So the knowledge part, as it says here, is it's a theoretical part which says that what we do and why. The skill part is about how to do it, and the desire part is that how motivated the person is and how much a person is interested in order to do it. So the habit is the, I would say, the combination at the middle where all these circles encircle each other. So that is the habit part. And the 7 habit book talks about these various habits which a person should have in order to be effective in the organization. Again, another thing which I would like to discuss here is the maturity part. There are 3 stages of maturity. First stage is the dependence, where a person is dependent on others. Like if there is a child, the child is dependent on parents for various activities. Like when the child is very, very small, they depend on their parents to feed them. when they start getting older, the dependence starts going down, and it moves from like feeding into the financial dependence and so on. The third part, the second part is the independence part, where from dependence the person moves into an independence part, where, and this is the time when person start its career and it's free from the external influences and the support of other, and he can actually be on his own. And the third part and the most important part is that when the person gets more and more involved in its career and it starts working in a team, then the maturity band that counts is that how is he behaving on his or her interdependence with other team members. So there are three maturity bands. So one is the dependence, which is the basic one. The second is independence, where the person is on its own. And the third one is the interdependence, where the team working part comes in. As I said earlier, the dependence is the paradigm under which we are born, relying upon others to take care of us. Independence is the paradigm under which we make our decisions and take care of ourselves. And interdependence, the paradigm under which we cooperate to achieve something that cannot be achieved independently. So this comes the team working part. Now I'll start moving into the seven habits of highly effective people. This was first published in 1989 by Stephen Coe, and it's a widely sold book across the globe. And it provides and it presents an approach that how one can be more effective in attaining those goals. And one has to actually change in order to be more effective, because the world is not entirely what one sees with his own eyes. It can have different meaning for different people. So one has to make a conscious effort in order to streamline the perceptions and to change himself or herself to change the perceptions that actually how things are. The seventh habit tells us or teaches us that how one can focus on self-mastery. Self-mastery is a phase when a person is moving from dependence to independence. It also focuses on developing team working and collaborative interdependence methodology, that how one should try to understand others or co-workers or the team members in order to synergize and get the maximum out of the action or activities. And third, which is the most important part, is that one should focus on continuous growth and improvement, or I would say the self-improvement of the person. Now, the 7 habits that are being described by Dr. Stephen is: number 1, one has to be proactive. The second one is that one should begin with the end in mind. Third is that we should put first thing first or prioritize our activities. Fourth is think win-win. Then is the first you understand and then to be understood. What happens is that people, without understanding others, they just start saying that what they feel like, and that actually defeats the purpose. Sixth one is the synergize. And the seventh one is sharpen your saw, which is a self-improvement area. So now I will take you through with each of these habits, and I will try to explain to you that what does that mean, and how one can work on that in order to improve their effectiveness in their working. So we go to first this model of a paradigm. The 7 habits that we have already spoken about is the first 3 habits which are here. They are actually targeting towards private victory, and they are moving a person from dependence into an independence phase. So for private victory, one has to be proactive. One needs to start or begin with the end in mind and prioritize the activities. So this is called self-mastery. One has to have self-mastery in order to move from dependence to an independence phase. And it is a private victory. It is a victory within yourself. It is what you gain within your own personality in order to improve or in order to move from dependence to an independence phase. The other 3 habits are related to public victory, where you get an opportunity to work with the teams. And that area is moving a person from the independence phase into an interdependence phase. And the 3 habits which fall in transition from independence to interdependence, or in order to gain a public victory, is think win-win, that everyone should not think that they win and the other lose. It should have to be a win-win situation. Try to understand that what the other people have in mind. Try to see the world from their eyes and then decide that what is the right course of action. And then synergize. Synergize is that if there are 2 people there, then 1 plus 1 can become 6, 7, or 8, because when the knowledge of the skills and the actions of 2 people combine, that can actually go exponentially in order to achieve the goal. And this all is in circle within sharpening the saw, which is continuously improving your self. And it's a self-improving or self-controlling habit. So there are 3 main areas where the habits work. One is the private victory area. The second is the public victory area. The third is the continuous improvement area. The private victory area has 3 habits, which takes a person from dependence into independence phase. And public victory area has another 3 habits that takes from independence to interdependence, and it's a public victory. This is the basic model of 7 habits. And when I move on, I will explain each of the habits and how one can actually work in order to improve the effectiveness in that area or in that habit. Again, private victory is be proactive, begin with the end in mind, and put first thing first, moving from dependence into interdependence, into independence. Again, another thing, before I start on proactive behavior, there are 2 circles in the mind of everyone. One is a circle of influence, and the other one is the circle of concern. Now, what is circle of concern? Circle of concern is an area which is beyond one's control. The circle of influence is an area which is within one's control. So, अगर हम आज की एग्जांपल लें या करंट सिचुएशन की एग्जांपल लें तो हमारा एक बहुत बड़ा सर्कल ऑफ कंसर्न इज कोविड-19. कोविड-19 आ गया विच इज अ सर्कल ऑफ कंसर्न और उसकी वजह से आपकी बहुत सारी एक्टिविटीज जो हैं वो हैम्पर हो रही हैं. लेकिन इसके ऊपर जो रिएक्शन होता है, देयर आर टू टाइप्स ऑफ पर्सनालिटीज. वन इज अ प्रोएक्टिव फोकस, जो कि अपनी पॉजिटिव एनर्जी को यूज करते हुए और अपने सर्कल ऑफ इन्फ्लुएंस को यूज करते हुए अपने वेज और मीन्स निकाल लेता है इन ऑर्डर टू डू द डिजायर्ड एक्टिविटीज. This is called a positive energy, and a person who has a proactive focus is the one who possesses positive energy. दूसरे टाइप ऑफ लोग होते हैं, वो होते हैं रिएक्टिव फोकस करते हैं, उनके अंदर नेगेटिव एनर्जी होती है. उससे होता यह है कि आपकी माइंड में इतनी नेगेटिविटी आ जाती है कि आपका सर्कल ऑफ इन्फ्लुएंस श्रिंक होता चला जाता है और आपका सर्कल ऑफ कंसर्न जो है वो बढ़ता चला जाता है. सो यू जस्ट एंड अप complaining and you don't see any light towards the end of the tunnel to get out of it. मैं आपको छोटी सी एक एग्जांपल दूं इसी की. सर्कल ऑफ कंसर्न में जैसे अभी हमने बात की कोविड की, इसमें एक एग्जांपल है which would be of interest to few people. हुआ ये कि बहुत सारे आपके जो बार्बर शॉप्स हैं वो बंद हो गए. जब बार्बर शॉप बंद हो गए तो the business comes to a point where it becomes a circle of concern. But what we have seen is that those barbers have started providing a service at home. And what are they doing is कि वो complete PPEs को लेके जाते हैं, घर पे जाते हैं, लोगों की हेयर कट करते हैं, they go out. So उनका जो सर्कल ऑफ कंसर्न था वो सर्कल ऑफ कंसर्न उन्होंने श्रिंक कर लिया विद देयर सर्कल ऑफ इन्फ्लुएंस थ्रू एन इनोवेशन. इसी तरह अगर मैं दूसरी आपको एक एग्जांपल दूं, वन ऑफ आवर क्लाइंट व्हिच इज इन द फूड इंडस्ट्री, देयर 80 to 90% ऑफ द सेल वाज थ्रू देयर आउटलेट्स. लेकिन जब ये इशू शुरू हुआ और इस इशू के साथ साथ शॉप्स बंद होनी शुरू हुई तो उनका बिजनेस बिल्कुल बैठना शुरू हो गया. लेकिन जब रीस्टार्ट हुआ फॉर अ लिमिटेड पीरियड, व्हाट दे डिड वाज दे एनहांस्ड देयर डिलीवरी सर्विस. उसका रिजल्ट ये निकला कि विद इन अ वीक और सो दे वर बैक टू देयर ओरिजिनल सेलिंग वैल्यू. और उसके अंदर एक शिफ्ट आ गया कि जो उनकी आउटलेट सेल थी दैट हैज गॉन डाउन टू 15 to 20%, बट रेस्ट ऑफ द सेल इज कमिंग इन फ्रॉम द डिलीवरी. सो कहने का मकसद ये है कि आपके सर्कल ऑफ कंसर्न्स होते हैं, उन सर्कल ऑफ कंसर्न्स को देखते हुए इफ यू मेक अ कॉन्शियस एफर्ट एंड इनोवेटिव वे थ्रू अ पॉजिटिव एनर्जी, तो आपका सर्कल ऑफ कंसर्न जो है वो श्रिंक हो जाता है और आपका सर्कल ऑफ इन्फ्लुएंस जो है वो बढ़ता चला जाता है. इसी के ऊपर एक सेइंग है जो मैंने नीचे लगाई हुई है, दैट फोकस ऑन व्हाट यू कैन नॉट कंट्रोल एंड डोंट वेस्ट एनर्जी ऑन थिंग्स दैट यू कैन नॉट. सो फोकस व्हाट यू कैन डू और व्हाट यू कैन कंट्रोल एंड डोंट वेस्ट योर टाइम एंड एनर्जी ऑन थिंग्स दैट वन कैन नॉट कंट्रोल. Again, as I explained, the model is based on two circles, a concern circle and an influence circle. Then there are two types of people, reactive people and proactive people. Focus should be on focus should be on things that one can influence. If that is done, the circle of influence starts to increase, and your effectiveness and your power keeps on increasing. And if you start putting energy into this circle of concern, or if you start thinking too much on circle of concern, that only ends up in draining your energy and making you negative and critical. Another important thing is that one should know that how far the circle of influence can extend. Because अगर आपको पता होगा तो ही आप उसको उस लेवल तक ले जा सकते हैं. उससे आगे अगर आपने उसको मूव करने की कोशिश की तो probably you will be again wasting a lot of time and energy in doing that. इसी तरह कहते हैं कि जब टीम में कोई काम कर रहा होता है तो टीम के अंदर एक वाइडर सर्कल ऑफ इन्फ्लुएंस हो जाता है, क्योंकि देयर आर मल्टीपल माइंड्स सिटिंग देयर टू गिव सजेशन दैट व्हाट नीड्स टू बी डन. और रिएक्टिव पीपल के लिए मैंने जैसा बताया कि उनका सर्कल ऑफ इन्फ्लुएंस जो है वो श्रिंक होता चला जाता है और उनकी टोटल डिपेंडेंस जो है वो कंसर्न्स के ऊपर हो जाती है. दैट मेक्स देम नेगेटिव एंड क्रिटिकल. So this is about this, and now I come to habit number 1, which is to be proactive. Because proactive, it's a very big word, meaning that you do something instead for waiting something to happen to you. क्या मतलब हुआ इसका? इसका मतलब ये हुआ, आप एग्जाम्पल लीजिए कि एक क्रिकेट मैच हो रही है. उस क्रिकेट मैच में बॉलर आया, उसने बॉलिंग की. जब वो बॉलिंग की उसने, तो बैट्समैन ने उसके ऊपर शॉट खेला विच इज अ कैच. अब फील्डर जो उस कैच को लेने के लिए खड़ा हुआ है, अगर वो अपनी जगह पर ही खड़ा रहा तो देयर इज अ लाइक्लीहुड के कैच उसके हाथ में आ जाए, लेकिन मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम दिस विल नॉट हैपन. ही विल हैव टू टेक सम एक्शन in order to catch that ball. So this is what is about being proactive. Suppose that ball is not a ball, it is your goal. So in order to achieve your goal, or in order to catch that goal, or in order to fulfill that goal, you have to make it happen. You cannot wait that things will happen to you and you will get what you are dreaming for. You have to do something. You have to move. You have to take action. You have to take responsibility for every aspect of your life. You have to take action. You have to make choices. And important part is that once you take action, you have to focus. You have to focus and you have to play with mostly within the circle of influence, which is the area where you can get most out of it. And if there is a circle of concern, then you should make risk plan in order to avoid those concerns. So this is what is the first habit, is that you have to be proactive. When you have to achieve your goal, you have to actually do something about it. You have to plan your goals, you have to translate them into actions, you have to define the timelines, and you have to move in the right direction towards the right destination in order to achieve your goal. If you are not proactive and if you are waiting that something is going to happen, then it's very unlikely that things will happen to you. This habit, which is being proactive, is also said because this is moving one from dependence into independence phase, is that you are the programmer. You have to program your life. You have to define. You have to define your goals, and you have to define the actions. You have to define the key areas. You have to define the risk plan, that how are you going to achieve that goal. If you are not proactive, it's very, very unlikely that things are going to happen as you are dreaming. Again, as I said earlier, the highly effective people, when they work on being proactive, they start. Is there any question? Okay, I carry on. Again, in order to start on being proactive, one should always start in the area of influence and should initially avoid reacting to the external forces. Play within that area, play within the area of your comfort, play within the area of your control, and try to increase the diameter of your circle of influence. Whenever a proactive person faces a problem, they actually take some initiative, or they take another route, or they take some other actions in order to improve or to minimize that risk. They don't just keep reporting the problem and waiting for others to solve it for them. You have to take action. You have to mitigate the risk. When one is proactive and when they have taken the initiative, it becomes under their ownership, and then they try to make things happen. And then that actually makes your brain to start generating positive energy, and people start aggressively seeking new ideas and innovations in order to achieve those goals. And very important point is that when you are working proactively on within your circle of influence, please don't let negative environment affect your behavior and decisions. This is not easy. It's very difficult, but one has to practice that. How can one control their behavior and decisions in order or in front of a negative environment? And again, the another important thing is that हम लोग अल्लाह ताला की मखलूक है और हम सब गलतियों का पुतला है, सब लोग गलतियां कर रहे होते हैं. But one should not take as a mistake as a defeat और उसके ऊपर हम demotivate हो जाएं. Take it as a learning. कि इस mistake से हमने क्या सीखा और what can we avoid in future to avoid that mistake happen again. Okay. दूसरा जो habit है, which is begin with end in mind. Actually, again, I will start with an example. Imagine that you are an artist and that you have to do a painting. So as an artist, ज़्यादातर ये imaginary लोग होते हैं, but when they start painting, start doing a painting, उनकी mind में ये होता है कि जी किस तरह की पेंटिंग बनानी है, लैंडस्केप बनाना है, पोर्ट्रेट बनाना है, अगर उसमें लैंडस्केप बना रहे हैं तो किस एरिया की बनानी है, उस एरिया की बनानी है तो उसके ऊपर कौन कौन से कलर्स यूज हो सकते हैं, एंड फाइनली जब ये पेंटिंग निकलेगी तो उसकी एक्सपेक्टेशन क्या होगी कि उसको कहाँ पे यूज किया जाएगा. So what they do is that they have a conceptually end of the painting and they start working on that. तो अगर मैं कहूँ कि हम लोगों की जिंदगी है, हमारी लाइफ is also like a painting, and in order to make this life painting a masterpiece, one has to have the end in mind. Otherwise आपका सफर शुरू कहीं से होगा और इख्तिताम उसका ऐसी जगह होगा जहां आप शायद जाना नहीं चाह रहे हो. होता यह है कि if there is no end in mind, people struggle in mind and they get distracted and in accomplishing their goals. What happens is that they look busy but they are not effective in their life. सुबह से शाम तक दफ्तर गए, शाम को वापस आए, पता चला कुछ भी नहीं किया. They work whole day but they achieve nothing. इसका मकसद ये हुआ कि they are actually banging on the wrong wall. They are putting in all the efforts, they are moving very, very fast, but unfortunately not in the right direction. So what is needed is that there must be a clear mission and goal for the final destination. And if that is defined, then one can define various steps in order to move towards that final destination. And without having the end in mind and without goals and priorities, one gets actually distracted and diffused during the day. So it is very important that one should have an end in mind. And with this life, what happens is that people, they end up chasing to get more and more money, recognition, professional success. But at the same time, on the softer side, this is being worked on at the cost of their health, their relationship, and their peace of mind. They actually get exhausted as they do not know where they want to head. They start their journey towards a destination, but they actually miss the road. So it is very important that one should have a final destination in life or at work. Otherwise, what will happen is that the person will not move to the right destination, but they will be lost somewhere in between. And I tell you that only the managers who have end in mind can do right things, because they know that what is the right destination and they can actually use the correct trajectory. They know what they need. So what happens is that they are moving in the right direction on the right road, and this also eliminates a lot of fear and culture of failure within the organization. Again, if I see here is that we should better understand that where we are now and what are the steps that we need to take to move into the right direction. And one should obtain a frame of reference by which one can stay connected to what really matters. And this is based on the principle which is called True North Principle. उसके ऊपर आपको पता होता है कि what is your direction. So अगर आप एक compass use कर रहे हैं और उसके ऊपर आपको पता है कि this is the destination where you want to go, So that can always direct you, that can always tell you about your clear vision of direction and destination, and that will help you in attaining your goal. इसी के ऊपर स्टीवन कोई की एक saying है जो कि मैंने यहाँ पे पोस्ट भी की हुई है, the key is not to prioritize what is on your schedule, but it's very important to schedule your priorities. जब आप प्रोफेशनल गोल्स बना रहे होते हैं तो आपके नियर टर्म गोल्स होते हैं, लॉन्ग टर्म गोल्स होते हैं, उसके अंदर आप आइडेंटिफाई कर रहे होते हैं कि व्हाट इज योर ड्रीम, व्हाट इज योर डेस्टिनेशन, वेयर यू वांट टू गो, एंड वंस दैट इज डन, वंस दैट इज हाइलाइटेड, then you start making action plans or you start writing the steps that will take you towards that area. The third part, which takes a person from, I would say, dependence to independence, and which is the third habit of private victory or self-mastery, is put first things first. And again, मैं आपको थोड़ा सा इस पे ये टच कर दूं कि हमने पहला कहा था कि यू आर द प्रोग्रामर. तो प्रोएक्टिव जब आप होते हैं तो आप अपनी माइंड को एज अ प्रोग्रामर बना लेते हैं. जब आप नंबर 2 पे जाते हैं, यू स्टार्ट राइटिंग योर प्रोग्राम. और जब थर्ड स्टेप पे आते हैं, व्हेन यू पुट फर्स्ट थिंग्स फर्स्ट, यू स्टार्ट रनिंग योर प्रोग्राम. सो व्हाट हैपेंस इज दैट बहुत से लोग अपने कामों में, अपनी जिंदगी में डिस्ट्रैक्ट हो जाते हैं क्योंकि उनकी सेट ऑफ प्रायोरिटीज जो है वो सही नहीं होती. तो what is important over here is that through time management habit, one needs to set the priorities first. So what you need to do is identify first your first priority, which is the most important task that you or one has to do. Second important part or priority is the less important task or the tasks which are more important. And the third priority is the tasks which are important tasks. So you first put the first priority, which is the most important task, then the second priority, which are the more important parts, and the third priority, which are an important task. And the last priority is the least important task. So if again I say that when we were talking about habit 2, it was talking about the destination and the goals. When we talk about habit 3, it talks about scheduling to achieve those goals. When I talk about habit 2, it is all about setting your action in place. And habit 3 is to discipline your act. Habit 2 is related to the mental part or the mental creation, and habit 3 is what covers the physical part. So put first thing first is all about the running the program and organizing and executing the priorities. So what you have to do is to identify the key roles that you value in life and make time for each of them. This is for your own nourishment. Continually review and prioritize your goals. Having busy is not productive. One has to achieve something at the end of the day, which is important. So what happens is that people end up doing least important task and they just forget the most important and more important part. So what is important is that separate the important and urgent task and focus on those tasks which are important. I have a question for you over here, which you can note down and maybe give few minutes to think about it. That what one thing could you do that you are not doing right now, that if you do on a regular basis would make a positive, tremendous positive difference on your personal life? And what one thing in your business or professional life would bring similar results? So just take 2 to 3 minutes and put your thoughts together, and then I'll tell you that how one can prioritize their work based on the time management metrics. So okay everyone, I'm sure कि आप लोगों ने कुछ answers इसके note down कर लिए होंगे. Now I'll take you to the time management matrix, that what does that mean and how it operates. टाइम मैनेजमेंट या टाइम मैट्रिक्स क्वाड्रेंट जो है, इसके अंदर आपको अपने टास्क को इवैल्यूएट करते हैं ऑन urgency and importance. So there is a quadrant which is urgent but not important. There is a quadrant which is not important and not urgent. There's a quadrant which is urgent and important. And then there's a quadrant which is important but not urgent. इसको हम इस तरह से लेते हैं कि आपका जो क्वाड्रेंट नंबर 1 है जो कि अर्जेंट एंड इम्पॉर्टेंट है, इस क्वाड्रेंट को कहते हैं डू. और डू के अंदर आपको वो टास्क करने होते हैं जिनको कि आप अवॉइड नहीं कर सकते. इसकी आप एग्जांपल एक ये ले सकते हैं कि आपके पास एक से फॉर एग्जांपल बिजली का बिल आया है जिसकी कि आज लास्ट डेट है. सो इट्स एन इम्पॉर्टेंट एंड इट्स एन अर्जेंट. यू हैव टू डू इट दैट डे. अगर आप नहीं करेंगे तो आपको उसके ऊपर पेनल्टी पड़ जाएगी और डैमेजेस आएंगे. सो एनीथिंग which has immediate deadlines and where it becomes a crisis situation forms in a do quadrant, which is over here. The next quadrant, which is quadrant number 2, is a plan quadrant. Plan quadrant वो वाला quadrant होता है जिसके अंदर आप इम्पॉर्टेंट काम प्लान कर रहे होते हैं जिनकी के उस वक्त तक अर्जेंसी नहीं हुई होती. होता यह है कि आपने उन कामों को प्लान करना होता है ताकि उसकी प्रॉपर एग्जीक्यूशन हो सके. इसके अंदर आपके होते हैं लॉन्ग टर्म गोल्स होते हैं जो कि आपकी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन या पर्सनल सक्सेस के लिए इम्पोर्टेंट होते हैं, लेकिन उसके ऊपर कोई अर्जेंसी नहीं आई होती. तो इसको आप प्रॉपरली प्लान करके एग्जीक्यूट करने का प्लान बना रहे होते हैं और एग्जीक्यूट कर रहे होते हैं. क्वाड्रेंट नंबर 3 जो होता है, दिस कवर्स वर्क विच इज अर्जेंट बट इट्स नॉट इम्पॉर्टेंट. सो इसको कहा यह जाता है कि वो काम जो कि अर्जेंट हैं लेकिन इम्पॉर्टेंट नहीं है, उसको आप किसी को डेलीगेट कर सकते हैं. यू डोंट नीड टू डू दोस जॉब्स विद योरसेल्फ. इसके एक एग्जांपल ये ले सकते हैं कि ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस के अंदर लोग जो हैं वो माइक्रो मैनेजमेंट पे चले जाते हैं. जब माइक्रो मैनेजमेंट पे चले जाते हैं तो होता यह है कि आपका जो इम्पोर्टेंट काम जो इन 2 एरियाज में होना चाहिए वो भी सफर होता है और आप यहाँ फोकस करना शुरू कर देते हैं. सो ऑलवेज ट्राई टू डेलीगेट दोज जॉब्स और दैट वर्क which is not important but is urgent. और बहुत से काम ऐसे होते हैं जो कि आपके ना तो अर्जेंट होते हैं और ना इम्पोर्टेंट होते हैं. उनको आप completely अपने पास से eliminate कर दें and make it a responsibility to someone else or make it a system जो कि वहाँ पे खुद ब खुद होने शुरू हो जाए. उनके ऊपर one should not put any effort or time. तो इस तरह से ये हमारे टाइम मैट्रिक्स के 4 क्वाड्रेंट्स हैं. One is do, where the urgent and important tasks fall. Second is not urgent and important. Third is not important, urgent. And the fourth is not important, not urgent. तो इसके ऊपर ही जो मैंने पहले आपको एक एक्सरसाइज बताई थी उसको देखते हुए आपके पास जो एरियाज हैं या जो एक्टिविटीज हैं जो आप कर रहे होते हैं या करने जा रहे हैं उनको आप जब व्हेन यू गो बैक फ्रॉम हियर उसको आप इस चार्ट के ऊपर या क्वाड्रेंट्स के ऊपर डिफाइन कर लीजिए कि डू, प्लान, डेलीगेट और एलिमिनेट में कौन कौन से एरियाज कौन कौन से टास्क फॉल कर रहे हैं. उनको आप उन पर्टिकुलर क्वाड्रेंट्स के अंदर प्लेस कर देंगे और इसको आप रिलीजियसली फॉलो करना शुरू कर देंगे तो थिंग्स विल बिकम मच इजियर फॉर यू ओवर. इसी के साथ साथ आप अपने अगर वीकली प्लान को देखें या आप अपना वीकली स्केड्यूल को देखें और उसके साथ आप ये देखें कि उसके अंदर कौन कौन सी ऐसी एक्टिविटीज हैं कौन कौन सी ऐसी आइटम्स हैं जो कि डेलीगेट हो सकती हैं उनको डेलीगेट कर दीजिए और जो आपकी लॉन्ग टर्म पर्सनल मिशन और विजन के साथ लिंक्ड है उनको आप अपने प्लानिंग पार्ट में लेके जाइए. जो अफेक्टिव लोग होते हैं अपनी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में दे वर्क इन दिस एरिया. उनके ऊपर कभी भी डेडलाइंस सर पे नहीं होती कि वो इस एरिया में आ जाएं इसको करना ही है जैसे तैसे. सो दे ऑलवेज वर्क इन प्लानिंग देयर इम्पोर्टेंट टास्क एंड देन इम्प्लीमेंटिंग इट अकॉर्डिंग टू अ स्केड्यूल. And they focus on delegating these areas into their subordinates because they don't want to spend their time over here. So successful people are those who are spending their time in this quadrant, which is a plan quadrant. अच्छा जी, जो next 3 habits हैं जिनकी के हमने अब बात करनी है जो कि इंटरडिपेंडेंस से लेके और इंडिपेंडेंस से लेके इंटरडिपेंडेंस की तरफ लेके जाती है या जो पब्लिक विक्ट्री की बात करती है उसके 3 हैबिट्स हैं. थिंक विन विन, सीक फर्स्ट टू अंडरस्टैंड देन टू बी अंडरस्टूड एंड देन द 6th one is synergize. So we start with the win-win. देखिए विन-विन सिचुएशन जो होती है विन-विन सिचुएशन का कॉन्सेप्ट क्या है. विन-विन सिचुएशन का कॉन्सेप्ट ये है इट्स ऑल अबाउट प्राइवेट विक्ट्री वर्सेस पब्लिक विक्ट्री. लोगों का फोकस होता है ऑन प्राइवेट विक्ट्री बट व्हाट विन-विन सेज इज दैट देयर हैज टू बी अ पब्लिक विक्ट्री. पब्लिक विक्ट्री का मतलब क्या है कि देयर हैज टू बी कोलैबोरेशन. It should not say your way or it should not say my way. It should say the better way. This should be a habit of mutual benefit that gives enough for everyone. इससे होता है क्या है कि जब आप विन विन सिचुएशन में काम कर रहे होते हैं या जब आप टीम के अंदर काम कर रहे होते हैं तो आपके काम के अंदर, आपकी एक्टिविटीज के अंदर ज्यादा क्रिएटिविटी आती है, आपकी रिसोर्सफुलनेस बढ़ जाती है, आपकी एक्टिविटी की करने की विजडम बढ़ जाती है, आपकी इंटेलिजेंस जो है वो मल्टीप्लाई हो जाती है. एंड दिस इज ऑल अबाउट, आई वुड से, शेयरिंग ऑफ नॉलेज. लोग होते हैं वो, उनके अंदर ये टेंडेंसी होती है कि ये मेरी नॉलेज है, ये किसी और को ना मिल जाए. अब उस टेंडेंसी से आपको कुछ हासिल नहीं होता, लेकिन शॉर्ट टर्म में ठीक है, आप अपनी नॉलेज अपने पास छुपा के रख लेंगे, लेकिन लॉन्ग टर्म में यू स्टार्ट सफरिंग, बिकॉज कहीं ना कहीं से दूसरे के पास भी नॉलेज आ जाएगी. सो इट्स बेटर टू cooperate, it's better to collaborate, it's better to start thinking for us, not for myself. अच्छा, ये कहना बहुत आसान है, but it's initially it is a very tough thing to do because it involves, आपके अंदर openness होनी चाहिए, आपके अंदर empathy होनी चाहिए, आपको एक दूसरे के साथ सिंपथाइज करना होना चाहिए, आपको एक दूसरे का दुख दर्द होना चाहिए, आपको एक दूसरे की कंसिडरेशन होनी चाहिए. एंड दिस कैन ओनली कम विथ maturity. If there is a maturity, then there will be a balance between a courage and consideration. One should have a courage to have consideration for the others. This ends up in a quality relationship, and it ends up in consensus and synergizing. It is all about actually respecting human interaction. And what it is actually a cooperation, and it's not a competition. So if we start competing against each other, then that would not be the right way to achieve things on it. अगर हम इसको मैं फर्दर थोड़ा सा डिस्क्राइब करूं तो इसके कौन कौन से क्वाड्रेंट्स हो सकते हैं सिचुएशन के. एक है विन विन सिचुएशन, विच इज अ कोऑपरेटिव एंड नॉट अ कॉम्पिटिटिव वन, और जिसके अंदर हम बात करते हैं म्यूचुअल बेनिफिट्स की फॉर ऑल ह्यूमन इंटरेक्शन. इसके अंदर हम बात करते हैं म्यूचुअली एंड एग्रीड सोल्यूशन एंड विच इज बेनिफिशियल एंड सेटिस्फाइंग फॉर एवरीवन. दूसरा होता है आपका लूज विन सिचुएशन. अच्छा, विन विन सिचुएशन के लिए इट्स टफ, बट वन हैज टू हैव अ मैच्योरिटी in order to accept a win-win situation. One has to have a courage to accept other one's winning as well. So this is a win-win situation. दूसरी एक सिचुएशन होती है which is a lose-win situation. lose-win situation में होता यह है कि आदमी की जो पर्सनालिटी होती है उसके अंदर से एक्सपेक्टेशंस खत्म हो चुकी होती हैं. इट्स अ गिवन अप पर्सनालिटी. वो कहता है मेरे साथ ठीक है, जो हो रहा है, दूसरे के साथ हो जाए, खत्म हो गई बात. तीसरी सिचुएशन जो होती है वो होती है विन लूज सिचुएशन. विन लूज सिचुएशन इज अ वेरी डेंजरस सिचुएशन. इसके अंदर होता यह है कि आई विन ऑल आर्ग्यूमेंट्स, आई गेट माई वे, बट द अदर वन शुड नॉट गेट हिज वे. होता यह है कि जी मैं जो चाह रहा हूँ वो करता रहूं, मेरी मर्जी चलती रहे, मैं जो बोलूं वो होता रहे, दूसरा जो है वो उसकी ना चले. लॉन्ग टर्म में दिस इज वेरी वेरी डैमेजिंग, बिकॉज इट्स ऑल अबाउट. और जब आप ऐसी सिचुएशन में होते हैं जहां विन लूज बिहेवियर होता है लोगों का, तो क्रिटिसिज्म, कंप्लेनिंग, कंपैरिजन, कंपटीशन, इस तरह की चीजें शुरू हो जाती हैं, और उससे फिर यू एंड अप गेनिंग नथिंग. जो फोर्थ एरिया होता है विच इज अ लूज लूज सिचुएशन. लूज लूज सिचुएशन जो है, दिस इज ऑल्सो अ कंप्लीट डिजास्टर, क्योंकि होता यह है कि यहाँ दो स्टबन लोग जो है वो साथ हो जाते हैं. सो दे बोथ वांट देयर वे, एंड नो वन लेट्स इट हैपन टू happen the way the other person wants it to happen. So nothing happens over there. और लड़ाई झगड़ा और उसके साथ फसाद होके चीज खत्म हो जाती है. So these are the 4 areas of win-win, lose-win, win-lose and lose-lose situation. अच्छा, win-win situation होने के लिए organization के अंदर there has to be a win-win attitude. और ये आता है 3 चीजों से. Number 1 is integrity. आपके अंदर values होने चाहिए to actually understand the other one's feeling. आपके अंदर commitment होनी चाहिए. आपके अंदर maturity होनी चाहिए कि आप अपने आइडियाज और फीलिंग्स को दूसरे को एक्सप्लेन कर सकें और दूसरे के आइडियाज और फीलिंग्स को खुद फील कर सकें ताकि आप सही डिसीजन ले सकें फॉर द बेनिफिट ऑफ बोथ. एंड दिस इज कॉल्ड abundance mentality. What is abundance mentality? Abundance mentality is believing that there is a plenty for everyone. When one starts thinking on these lines with maturity and integrity, then the win-win attitude comes into an organization or a person. Win-win situation जो है, जैसे मैंने अभी बताया, मैं आगे आपको बताऊंगा about character and personality. So win-win situation is a character-based course for human interaction and collaboration. That is within your character. It's not part of your personality. मैं अभी आगे बताऊंगा तो ये क्लियर हो जाएगा कि what is the difference between personality and character. Principle of mutual benefit. Everyone has to take benefit out of it. फिर identification of the key issues and taking remedial actions to solve them. और इसके अंदर हर एक की involvement होनी चाहिए so that they feel that it's a joint decision and that brings in the commitment to the plan of action. अच्छा, स्टीफन कोवे की मैंने इसके अंदर एक saying लगाई है, relevant to think win-win is that when one side benefits more than the other, that's a win-lose situation. And to the winner, it might look like success for a while, but in the long run, it breeds resentment and distrust. शुरू में आप 1-2 प्रोजेक्ट तो कर लेंगे जिसमें आपको फायदा हो जाएगा और दूसरे को नुकसान हो जाएगा, लेकिन लॉन्ग रन के अंदर ये चलेगा नहीं क्योंकि जो दूसरी पार्टी है दैट विल बैक ऑफ. मैंने अभी बात की पर्सनालिटी और कैरेक्टर की कि पीछे आपके अंदर कैरेक्टर बिल्डिंग होनी चाहिए इन ऑर्डर टू हैव अ विन-विन सिचुएशन. कैरेक्टर जो है वो डिपेंड करता है आपकी या किसी भी शख्स की मोरल और एथिकल वैल्यूज के ऊपर. वैल्यूज जैसे पहले एक्सप्लेन किया था कि आपकी एथिकल वैल्यूज होती हैं जो आपका कैरेक्टर और आपकी फाउंडेशन को बनाती हैं, जिसके अंदर बहुत सारी चीज़ें हो सकती हैं कि दूसरों का ख्याल करना है, आपने सच बोलना है, अच्छी बात करनी है. दैट all becomes part of your character. Personality क्या होती है? Personality is the mask or an identity of a person. ये आदमी देखने में कैसा नजर आ रहा है. So there is a difference between personality and character. Personality is that how a person appears when a person sees to it. And character is something which is inside of you, that what are the values and what are the value system within your own. इसी को कहा है कि personality is something that we do when everyone is watching us. तो personality वो चीज होती है जब लोग आपको देख रहे होते हैं कि आप उसको नजर कैसे आ रहे हैं. और कैरेक्टर आदमी का वो होता है जो आदमी उस वक्त कर रहा होता है जब उसको कोई नहीं देख रहा होता, सिर्फ खुदा देख रहा होता है. So this is a difference between personality and character. Character is part of the ethical values and personality is part of how a person looks like. आइसबर्ग आप लोगों ने देखा होगा. अगर आप आइसबर्ग देखें तो उसका एक पोर्शन जो है वो बाहर होता है जो नजर आ रहा होता है और एक पोर्शन होता है जो अंदर होता है जो नजर नहीं आ रहा होता. So the tip of the iceberg is a personality. This is what people first see when they see a person. The personality is what they see in a first sight. और जो कैरेक्टर होता है वो पोर्शन होता है जो इंसान के अंदर होता है, जो इमीडिएटली आपको नजर नहीं आता, लेकिन जब आप उसके साथ टाइम गुजारते हैं, जब आप उसके साथ इंटरेक्शन को करते हैं, तो आपको पता चलता है कि आदमी की कैरेक्टर कैसी है. कैरेक्टर जो है वो बेस्ड होता है एथिक्स के ऊपर और प्रिंसिपल्स के ऊपर और वैल्यूज के ऊपर. इसकी एग्जांपल्स अगर लें तो इसकी एग्जांपल्स में आ जाता है इंटेग्रिटी. आदमी की इंटेग्रिटी इज पार्ट ऑफ द कैरेक्टर एथिक. फिर इसकी ट्रस्ट, आप इसको कितना ट्रस्ट कर सकते हैं. इसकी करेज, इसकी कंपैशन, इसकी कंट्रीब्यूशन, इसकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी और इसकी जस्टिस. अगर हम 100 साल पहले चले जाएं तो कैरेक्टर वाज द प्राइमरी थिंग व्हिच वाज यूज्ड एंड जज्ड इन ऑर्डर टू सी अ पर्सन. लेकिन उसके बाद कुछ हमारे यहाँ ऐसे चेंजेस आए, चीज़ें कमर्शलाइज होनी चली गई, चीज़ें चेंज होनी चली गई, सोसाइटल फोर्सेस आई कि पर्सनालिटी की भी वैल्यू होनी चली गई, जो कि टेक्निक बेस्ड है. ये इसके अंदर वैल्यूज या प्रिंसिपल्स या एथिक्स नहीं आती, इसके अंदर टेक्निक्स आती हैं. ये लगता है कि हाउ टू लुक गुड, हाउ टू ड्रेस इन अ पर्टिकुलर वे, हाउ टू क्रिएट योर राइट इमेज, दिस इज ऑल इम्पॉर्टेंट. बट इसने समहाउ बाईपास कर दिया है कैरेक्टर को. सो 7 हैबिट्स की जब हम बात करते हैं तो 7 हैबिट इज ऑल अबाउट कैरेक्टर बिल्डिंग. कैरेक्टर बिल्डिंग is what makes you mainly a successful person. So what needs to be done is that person should first energize the character development activities before focusing on techniques of how to be more effective with others. पहले अपना कैरेक्टर बिल्ड करें. जब कैरेक्टर बिल्ड हो जाए उसके बाद फिर पर्सनालिटी बिल्डिंग के ऊपर काम करें. और अपने आप को अगर आपने चेंज करना है, अंदर से चेंज होता है, अंदर से चेंज आता है, उस चेंज को करने के लिए वन हैज टू एड्रेस द कैरेक्टर. बिल्डिंग कैरेक्टर की बात हमने की. इसके अंदर आपकी इंटेग्रिटी आ जाती है, आपकी मैच्योरिटी आ जाती है, आपकी अबंडेंस मेंटालिटी आती है, जो मैंने पीछे जिक्र किया. इसका जब आदमी का कैरेक्टर अच्छा होता है तो वो सबकी सक्सेस की बात कर रहा होता है, अपनी बात नहीं कर रहा होता. अच्छा, ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस के अंदर जब भी ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल रेवोल्यूशन या ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन या कल्चरल चेंज आ रहा होता है, सो ऑलवेज make sure to reward the win-win behavior among the colleagues, ताकि उसका पॉजिटिव इम्पैक्ट लोगों के ऊपर आए and people start moving into a win-win situation. और win-win agreement या win-win solution जो है, ये provides an effective और long-term relationship. जब आप win-win situation में काम कर रहे होते हैं तो you become part of a family, and as a family it becomes a long-term relationship. And one should feel that I'm successful if my colleagues, my friends and my mates are successful. So जब ये चीज आपके जहन में आ जाए, so that is where the success lies. That takes us to the next habit, which is seek first to understand and then be understood. इसके बारे में मैं ये कहूँगा कि देखें, जब तक आप सिचुएशन को और दूसरे को समझेंगे नहीं, उस वक्त तक आपको पता नहीं होगा कि एग्जैक्ट सिचुएशन है क्या। इसको इस तरह आप ले सकते हैं कि इट्स ऑल अबाउट डायग्नोसिस बिफोर वन प्रेस्क्राइब्स। क्या मतलब हुआ? मतलब ये हुआ कि जब हम किसी डॉक्टर के पास जाते हैं तो पहले हमारे डायग्नोसिस करता है कि हमारे बॉडी के अंदर अगर कोई इशू है तो वो क्या इशू है, और उस इशू को एलिमिनेट करने के लिए क्या चीज उसे प्रेस्क्राइब करनी होगी इन ऑर्डर टू मेक इट इफेक्टिव। कम्युनिकेशन की अगर मैं बात करूं तो हम सब ग्रो करते हैं फ्रॉम अ चाइल्डहुड टू वेरियस स्टेजेस, और हम जो कम्युनिकेशन की ट्रेनिंग ले रहे होते हैं फ्रॉम स्कूल टिल यूनिवर्सिटी एंड अप टू द वर्क, उसके अंदर हम ये सीख रहे होते हैं हाउ टू स्पीक, उसके अंदर हम सीख रहे होते हैं हाउ टू रीड, और उसके अंदर हम सीख रहे होते हैं हाउ टू राइट। जो चीज मोस्टली मिसिंग होती है, जिसके ऊपर के अनफॉर्चुनेटली बहुत कम ट्रेनिंग इम्पार्ट हो रही होती है, दैट इज ट्रेनिंग टू लिसन। And listening is the most important part of communication. हमारे यहाँ होता क्या है लिसनिंग के ऊपर, जैसा कि स्टीफन कोवे ने कहा है, जो मैंने नीचे लिखा हुआ भी है, मोस्टली पीपल डू नॉट लिसन विद द इंटेंट टू अंडरस्टैंड, दे लिसन विद द इंटेंट टू रिप्लाई। सच क्या हुआ? हम सुन इसलिए रहे होते हैं कि हमें इसका जवाब क्या देना है, हम इसलिए नहीं सुन रहे होते हैं कि हम इसको समझ के उसके ऊपर हमें एक्शन क्या लेना होता है। सो अफेक्टिव कम्युनिकेशन का जो बेसिक पार्ट है व्हिच इज अफेक्टिव लिसनिंग, इट इज अंडरस्टैंडिंग ईच अदर। लोग पीपल आर आइदर नॉट लिसनिंग टू ईच अदर और they are just pretending as they are listening. So what we need to do is we need to practice listening, and we need to practice emphatic listening. What is emphatic listening? This is to see the world through the eyes of others, get his feelings, get his beliefs, get his thoughts. और इसको दूसरे को समझने के लिए देयर आर मैनी टूल्स जो कि आप लिसनिंग के लिए यूज कर सकते हैं। उसके अंदर एक टूल जो है, जो इनिशियली वन कैन प्रैक्टिस फॉर बेटर लिसनिंग, इज रीफ्रेजिंग व्हाट यू हियर। अगर आप किसी को सुन रहे हैं तो लिसन टू दैट पर्सन और दैट जेंटलमैन, एंड वंस दैट इज डन, जस्ट समराइज दैट। ओके, यू मीन टू से दिस, you mean to say this. If I have correctly understood, this is what you mean. So that brings in the ability of listening people. And listening, I tell you, is the most important part of an organization, of communication. And if you don't listen, you will not understand that what is the point of view of the other person. होता क्या है कि वी आर सो मच कन्विंस कि हम वी आर ऑलवेज राइट, दैट वी डू नॉट वांट टू लिसन टू अदर्स। और हमें इस बात का डर होता है कि अगर हमने उसको सुन लिया तो हम उसके ऊपर इन्फ्लुएंस ना हो जाए और हम अपने सिक्योरिटी या कंफर्ट जोन से बाहर ना आ जाए, बीइंग राइट। सो कम्युनिकेशन का जो सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट पार्ट है वो है लिसनिंग। और लिसनिंग का मकसद ये है कि आप दूसरे को पहले समझें तो सही, आप उसको उसकी शूज में जाके देखें तो सही, आप उसकी नज़र से दुनिया को देखें तो सही कि एक्चुअली वो क्या चाह रहा है और वो क्या कह रहा है। सो इट्स all about communication effectively at all levels of the organization. So you have to learn more and more and more about the situation, and that can only happen through listening, listening, and listening. And you listen with an objective to really understand another human being, and by putting it into other shoe. और हमें प्रॉब्लम्स को देखना चाहिए फ्रॉम अदर्स पर्सन्स पर्सपेक्टिव, दैट उसका क्या पर्सपेक्टिव है चीजों के अंदर। जब कोई डिसीजन लें तो बी लॉजिकल एंड नॉट इमोशनल, क्योंकि इमोशनली जो डिसीजंस लिए जाते हैं वो हो सकता है ठीक हो जाए, लेकिन उसके अंदर इमोशन शामिल होता है, उसमें डी ट्रैक होने का बहुत ज्यादा चांसेस होते हैं। एंड दैट गिव्स यू क्रेडिबिलिटी, एम्पैथी एंड लॉजिकल थिंकिंग। बहुत से लोग ऐसे होते हैं जो दूसरा आदमी जब बोलना शुरू होता है तो उससे पहले ही उसको समझे बगैर ही एडवाइस देनी शुरू कर देते हैं। होता यह है कि दूसरा आदमी जो है वो भी बैक फुट पे चला जाता है एंड देन द कॉन्फ्लिक्ट स्टार्ट्स। So effective listening is not simply echoing what the other person has said through the lens of one's own experience, but trying to understand it, trying to grasp it, trying to put it into the right perspective. So in the other person's mind. अच्छा जी, तो ये हमारे हो जाते हैं 5 हैबिट्स एंड दैट टेक्स अस इनटू द 6th हैबिट व्हिच इज सिनर्जाइज। सिनर्जाइज का मतलब क्या है? टेकिंग एडवांटेज ऑफ द 2 brains. If there are 2 brains working as a team, it is always better than one individual, provided it's based on win-win situation. So होता क्या है कि this way everyone achieves more. हम जब पढ़ा करते थे तो टीम का जो TEAM होता है उसको we used to call in one of our organization, together everyone achieves more. So work as a team because together everyone achieves more. So if there are multiple people on a team, then it will not make 1 plus 1 equals to 2. It will make 1 plus 1 equal to 3, 4, 6, 8, 10 or any number. And if in a team there is a win-lose or lose-win situation, then what happens is that it becomes 1 plus 1 less than 2. So it is a negative synergy which is being generated there. So what I would say over here is कि जो हमने बात की थी win-win की habit 4 की, that is building an attitude. फिर हमने बात की थी habit number 2 की, habit number 5 की, seek first to understand, which provides a method. और synergy जो है वो इस सब का फल है। अगर आप विन विन कर लेते हैं और दूसरे को समझ लेते हैं, अगर आपके अंदर विन विन एटीट्यूड आ जाता है और अगर आपके अंदर और अगर आप अंडरस्टैंडिंग और लिसनिंग का मेथड जान लेते हैं तो सिनर्जी आपका फल है, क्योंकि उन दोनों से मिलके जो आप काम कर रहे होंगे दैट विल गिव यू 1 plus 1 is equal to 10. So as I said again, 2 heads are better than 1. It's teamwork, it's mindedness, it's adventure of finding new solution, it's principle of creative cooperation, it's way of working in team, it's applying effective problem solving techniques, it's about collaborative decision making, it's about building on divergent strengths, it's about leveraging creative collaboration, it's about embrace and leveraging innovation. So this is what synergy is, and what Dr. Stephen Covey has to say about it is that synergy is better than my way or your way, because it's our way. It's everyone's achievement. It's everyone's, I would say, winning. It's everyone's winning together. ये उसी चीज को मैं दोबारा यहाँ पे लिखा हुआ है जो मैंने अभी आपको बता ही दिया है कि म्यूचुअल ट्रस्ट और अंडरस्टैंडिंग से जब सिनर्जी हो जाती है और जब सिनर्जाइज कर जाते हैं तो जब कंबाइंड अफेक्ट आता है इट इज मच मोर देन व्हाट इट इज लाइक 1+1 2 नहीं होता बल्कि इट कुड बी एनी नंबर बिकॉज मल्टीपल ब्रेन्स आर वर्किंग देयर टू work on this. अच्छा जी, this brings us to the 7th habit which is sharpen your saw or sharpen the saw. इसका क्या मतलब है? हमने बात की जी डिपेंडेंस से हमने इंडिपेंडेंस पे जाना है जिसके अंदर हमारे 3 हैबिट्स हैं जो कि आपकी प्राइवेट विक्ट्री की ट्रेड्स को या कॉम्पिटेंस को बिल्ड करते हैं। फिर आप जाते हैं इंडिपेंडेंस से इंटरडिपेंडेंस के अंदर। इंटरडिपेंडेंस में जाने के लिए आपकी अगेन 3 ट्रेड्स हैं जो आपको पब्लिक विक्ट्री सिखाती हैं और इन सब के ऊपर जो अम्ब्रेला होती है वो होती है शार्पन योर सॉ। शार्पन योर सॉ क्या है वो मैं आपको बताता हूँ। इट्स अबाउट रिन्यूइंग एंड रिफ्रेशिंग योर पोटेंशियल। रिन्यूइंग एंड रिफ्रेशिंग योर पोटेंशियल का क्या मतलब है? आपकी फिजिकली, आप मेंटली, स्पिरिचुअली, सोशली, इमोशनली, इन चीज़ों को आपने किस तरह से कंटिन्यूसली इम्प्रूव करना है, विच इज़ योर सेल्फ डेवलपमेंट, विच इज़ योर सेल्फ इम्प्रूवमेंट, विच इज़ योर movement into the next level so that you excel on your private victory and your public victory part. So all the 6 habits, 3 from private and 3 from public, are continuously improved through your sharpening the saw. अब अगर मैं इसमें फिजिकल की पहले बात करूं तो फिजिकली अगर फिजिकल हेल्थ किसी की अच्छी है तो द वन पर्सन वुड हैव हेल्दी माइंड। और होता क्या है कि हम काम में इतने मशगूल हो जाते हैं कि वी इग्नोर फिजिकल फिटनेस एंड वी स्टार्ट लूजिंग आवर हेल्थ। सो फिजिकल फिटनेस के लिए देयर आर 3 एरियाज वेयर वन शुड वर्क ऑन। वन इज endurance. Endurance is something which you exercise in order to actually pump more blood through your heart. So जो आपकी exercises होती हैं वो endurance exercises होती हैं। दूसरा आपका होता है flexibility part जिसके अंदर के you start stretching your body so that your body is flexible. The third part is the strength part जिसके अंदर के आप अपने muscle building के ऊपर काम करते हैं। और इन चीज़ों को अगर रेगुलरली आप अपना पार्ट बनाएंगे जिंदगी का तो the combination of these things will make one physically fit. It sharpens the brain, it stabilizes the mood, it decreases the tension and you do better, you feel better. इसके साथ साथ one has to have right quality food and right quantity of food. जो mental part आता है आपका उसके अंदर आप अपनी improvement किस तरह से कर सकते हैं? उसकी improvement आप कर सकते हैं through reading various materials, attending various training sessions, and so on, which can improve your mental or which can sharpen your mentally. Spiritual के ऊपर one should always work on the principles and ethics of life. कैरेक्टर बिल्डिंग, कैरेक्टर को नहीं छोड़ें, कैरेक्टर के ऊपर काम करें। वंस द कैरेक्टर इज स्ट्रॉन्ग द पर्सन इज स्ट्रॉन्ग। और इमोशनल और सोशल के ऊपर है टू मेंटेन टाइम गुड रिलेशनशिप विथ योर फैमिली, विथ योर फ्रेंड एंड स्पेंड मोर एंड मोर टाइम विथ or more and more quality time with your family and friends so that you feel good about it. So sharpen your saw जो है वो ये आपको बताता है कि जी काम के साथ साथ आपका एक बैलेंस प्रोग्राम होना चाहिए ऑफ कंटिन्यूस इम्प्रूवमेंट फॉर रिन्यूइंग एंड रिफ्रेशिंग योर पोटेंशियल। उसके लिए आपको फिजिकल एक्टिविटी करनी चाहिए, फिजिकल एक्टिविटी में आपकी इंड्योरेंस, फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी और स्ट्रेंथ बिल्डिंग एक्सरसाइज हो गई। मेंटली आप कर रहे हैं, आपको बुक्स पढ़नी है, आपको ट्रेनिंग सेशंस करने हैं ताकि यू नो दैट व्हाट इज हैपनिंग इन द वर्ल्ड, एंड स्पिरिचुअली work on character building, and emotionally and socially spend time with your family and friend. अच्छा जी, इसके ऊपर जो स्टीफन ने कहा है वो कहा है, renewal is the principle and it's the process that empowers us to move on an upward spiral of growth and change, of continuous improvement. So it's continuous improvement, it's maintaining your own health physically and mentally and spiritually and emotionally to be more effective in what you do in your work and in your life. अगेन जो मैंने बात अभी की है, फिजिकल के अंदर आपका एक्सरसाइज, फूड, वाटर हो गया, मेंटल के अंदर लर्निंग एंड एजुकेशन हो गया, सोशल और इमोशन के अंदर फ्रेंड्स एंड रिलेशनशिप हो गया, स्पिरिचुअल के अंदर बिलीफ्स एंड वैल्यूज हो गया। और इसका नतीजा क्या होगा कि आपकी इंक्रीज एनर्जी होगी, आपकी क्लियर थिंकिंग होगी, आप कमिटेड होंगे टू वैल्यूज, and you have connection to those who are important to you, because what happens is कि most of the time आप काम में इतना फंस जाते हैं कि we start disconnecting with our families and friends, and we regret about that disconnection when we lose someone. So it is very important to stay connected with your family and friends as well. Chaji, this brings to the end of our 7 habits. इसके साथ साथ 7 actions भी हैं जिसके ऊपर के अगर काम किया जाए तो one can have a successful, I would say, career or a successful life. देखिए जी, सबसे important चीज जो है, one should always do something that a person enjoys. Although it's very easy to say, but one should always make a conscious effort कि आपका जिस चीज के अंदर आप enjoy करते हैं, जिस काम को enjoy करते हैं, आप उसी चीज के ऊपर focus करना शुरू करें. This is very important for the, I would say, people जो कि अभी students होते हैं या upcoming होते हैं, उनको उनका इंटरेस्ट किसी एरिया में होता है, लेकिन बिकॉज ऑफ सोशल प्रेशर, बिकॉज ऑफ पेरेंट प्रेशर, दे मूव और दे एंड अप इनटू समथिंग व्हिच इज ऑफ नॉट इंटरेस्ट टू देम. उसके साथ साथ होता यह है कि उनकी लाइफ में वो इंजॉयमेंट का पार्ट निकल जाता है, व्हिच इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. सो इफ यू आर एंजॉयिंग योर वर्क, यू आर एक्चुअली you don't feel like doing your work, it's just a hobby that you are doing. दूसरा पार्ट है लर्निंग पार्ट. वन शुड ऑलवेज कंटिन्यू टू लर्न एंड एक्सपेंड स्किल्स, पर्टिकुलरली आपकी जो टेक्निकल, इंडस्ट्रियल या मैनेजमेंट जॉब्स होती हैं, उसके अंदर वन शुड ऑलवेज ट्राई एंड फोकस ऑन इंक्रीजिंग द कॉम्पिटेंस लेवल, और लर्निंग नेवर स्टॉप्स. वो ये कहते हैं ना कि आदमी उस वक्त बुढ़ा हो जाता है जब वो लर्निंग छोड़ देता है. सो लर्निंग ऑलवेज कीप्स ऑन गोइंग. थर्ड पार्ट इज द कम्युनिकेशन पार्ट. कम्युनिकेट, कम्युनिकेट, कम्युनिकेट. डेवलप स्ट्रॉन्ग कम्युनिकेशन स्किल. और अगर आप कम्युनिकेट नहीं कर रहे हैं तो उसके 2 नुकसान आते हैं. एक नुकसान तो यह है कि यू आर नॉट actually understanding properly because you are not listening, and you are not telling the other person if there is an issue or there is a problem that needs to be taken care of. Hard working is very important. If you work hard, you definitely is going to get better results. Evolve होना चाहिए. One should be ready to for changes in career. And whenever there is a change, there is always new opportunities, not only within the career, within an organization. If you are changing your career from one point to the other, then always there's a new opportunity. With the changing environment, there is always an opportunity. Then again, very important, beginning of the career, plan that what you want to figure out, what you want to do in your career. And one of the thing is that talk to people who are doing what you want to do in 10 years. Like if you want to be a, say, pilot, ये मैं career के शुरू की बात कर रहा हूँ, for an example, then talk to a pilot, then start learning from the experience that what needs to be done in order to get there. And when you gain experience and as you grow, share your knowledge with others, find a way to give something back to the society. So these are the 7 actions for a successful career. अगर मैं इसको थोड़ा सा समराइज कर दूं कि आज के सेशन में हमने क्या चीज की है, and then we can take the questions which are posted there, and if someone wants to ask something or say something, then we can take that as well. We started with management by objectives, which is translation of vision, mission, and values into strategy. Strategy is monitored through a scorecard, and then scorecard is translated into individual performance measures. Once that is done, then at the end of the year, there is a performance management appraisal, where based on last year's performance, the people are evaluated, and based on their evaluation, their numerations are decided for the next year, and next year goals are decided. We discussed about the SMART goals and how to design SMART goals, which is through a SMART template, which we discussed. And we also discussed the performance evaluation form, which is based on 2 criteria. One is the values, that how a person is performing against a value, and the other one is the actual work performance, that how the person is performing against that work. उसके बाद we moved on to 7 habits. 7 हैबिट पे जाने के लिए हमने पहले जो बात की थी वो की थी 7 हैबिट्स की फिलॉसफी. 7 हैबिट की फिलॉसफी में है पहला पार्ट जो है वो है सेल्फ मास्टरी का, व्हिच इज प्राइवेट विक्ट्री. ये लेके जाती है डिपेंडेंस से इंडिपेंडेंस मैच्योरिटी लेवल पे. इसके अंदर 3 हैबिट्स होते हैं, which is proactive, begin with end in mind and put first thing first. इसके बाद का जो लेवल होता है वो पब्लिक विक्ट्री का होता है, जिसमें कि आप कोलैबोरेटिव वर्किंग कर रहे होते हैं, जिसके अंदर कि आप इंडिपेंडेंस से जा रहे होते हैं इंटरडिपेंडेंस के अंदर. इसके अंदर अगेन देयर आर 3 हैबिट्स. वन इज win-win, the other is seek first to understand, and the third one is synergize. इसको अगर हम further define करें तो win-win is an attitude that one needs to develop. Seek first to understand is a method of listening to the others and understanding the others. And once that attitude is built and that method is followed, the synergy is the fruit, which gives excellent results. The 7th and the last step is the sharpen the saw. And sharpening the saw is it's all about renewing and refreshing your potential, which is related to physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional levels. And one has to take control of one's life and sharpen the saw, because this is a self-continuous improvement task. इसको अगर हमने छोड़ दिया तो we start getting weak and weak. उसके बाद we spoke about 7 actions for a successful career, जिसके अंदर हमने 7 चीज़ों को डिस्कस किया है जिनको कि अपने रेडार के ऊपर रखना चाहिए in order to have a successful career. It's more important in early to mid careers, but it can be applicable anytime, because even at a certain age, one finds one enjoys working, say, for a public sector organization, then one should move on to a public sector organization, and so on. So this is all about what I have or I had to say in this. And now we can take the questions if there are any, and maybe I can go into the chat room and I try to answer the questions which are being posted over there.
Amar Sahab, shall I read the questions for you and you can just answer them quickly? Okay. So for the first one we have, basically it's a comment by Mr. Zishan, and he is saying, hi Amar, as you are aware that various organizations are practicing the bell curve, whatever the actual results are, the bell curve Excel sheet is prepared informally, and employees' rating were downgraded, and they are forced to accept an order for continuation of their job.
Zishan Sahab, the first thing to understand is to understand the bell curve. Bell curve ये कहता है कि within the population of an organization, there are 5% of the people who are in outstanding level. There are around, if I'm not wrong, 60% of the organization which are at an average level. And there are again 5% organization at the bottom of the bell, और बाकी जो है वो in middle होते हैं. कहने का मकसद ये है कि this is not about that an organization cannot have everyone as an outstanding or everyone as an I would say below expectation. What it says is कि अगर आपके यहाँ 100 आदमी हैं तो उसमें से जो टॉप के 5 आदमी हैं वही आउटस्टैंडिंग है. छठा आदमी आउटस्टैंडिंग नहीं होगा. छठा आदमी जो है वो नेक्स्ट लेवल में जाएगा, और उस लेवल में अगर 15% लोग होते हैं तो उसके अंदर वही 15% आदमी आएंगे. जो 16वां आदमी आएगा वो नेक्स्ट पॉपुलेशन में जाएगा. सो इट्स अ रिलेटिव मार्किंग. इट्स नॉट लाइक अगर 5% आउटस्टैंडिंग होने हैं तो 15 आदमी आउटस्टैंडिंग हो जाएंगे. I'm not sure if Zishan Saab is there and if he's satisfied with this or not. What I mean to say is it's relative marking, और relative marking में हमेशा ये होता है कि अगर आपने 5 आउटस्टैंडिंग लेते हैं तो वो टॉप 5 के ही आउटस्टैंडिंग होंगे. छठा आदमी अगर आएगा तो वो आउटस्टैंडिंग के अगले लेवल में चला जाएगा.
Right. So the next comment is from Mr. Amar Jamil Abbasi. In current times, economy is taking a dip, and now the impact is being felt by various companies and organizations, and their profitability is being impacted. In such an environment, when you are not able to motivate your staff financially, and maybe you may have to slash their salaries to save their jobs, then how we are going to manage our staff to give productivity and keep a high morale?
जी आमिर साहब, इसमें है ये कि ये जो एक सिचुएशन हो गई है, दिस इज अ वेरी अनयूजुअल सिचुएशन एंड इट्स अ ग्लोबल सिचुएशन, एंड एवरीवन इज सफरिंग देयर एंड एवरीवन इज लुकिंग फॉर मींस एंड ways to improve the performance. उसमें जो 2-4 चीजें हो सकती हैं या लोग करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, वन इज दैट वन कैन बी लुक एट वेरियस ट्रेनिंग अपॉर्चुनिटीज, लोगों को ट्रेनिंग कराना शुरू करें. बहुत से ऐसे काम होते हैं जो मेन मतलब एक्टिविटी के टाइम पे नहीं हो पा रहे होते, उन कामों को एड्रेस करने की कोशिश करें. आप कोई ऐसे इंसेंटिव्स लोगों के लिए दे सकते हैं कि इफ दे कम अप विद एन आइडिया व्हिच कैन डू बेटर फॉर द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, उनको कोई इंसेंटिव प्लान के साथ एसोसिएट कर सकते हैं. These are the things which can do some sort of motivation in terms of personal development, in terms of thinking and innovative ideas. But again, this is something which is very unusual, and it's a global thing which is affecting everyone. So यहाँ एक चीज तो आप ये बिल्कुल बजा फरमा रहे हैं कि लोगों की सैलरी कट्स और उसके ऊपर चीजों को देखा जा रहा है. I have seen globally there are many organizations जहाँ पे कि बहुत ज़्यादा layoffs भी हो गए. So this is really a sad situation and it's a very unusual situation. I hope कि इससे हम बाहर आएं और आइंदा अल्लाह ताला हमें इस किस्म के उससे बचा के रखे. इस वक्त हम यही कर सकते हैं कि लोगों को मोटिवेट करें, उनको मोटिवेशनल सेशंस अटेंड कराएं, उनको ट्रेनिंग दें, उनको डेवलपमेंट दें, एंड वी होप कि सून वी गेट आउट ऑफ इट.
Ahmed Saab, thank you very much. Especially, I just had to, from our organization's perspective, I'd say a couple of things. Globally, though, we are actually having these comments from our global chairman, which we are communicating to the staff, and I as a senior partner am communicating with our staff. We are basically working from home because we are not allowed by law to open our offices as yet. So we are in touch with our clients as well. But it is very difficult to keep their morale high because when they're working from home, and although we are having a regular Microsoft team meetings, I think in the last 40-50 days, the number of Microsoft team meetings that and the Zoom meetings that I have attended, I may not have attended even in the last 5 years, to be honest. So that is the kind of communication that we are having. And next month, we are having a plan to actually cover each and every level of staff to basically understand what their issues are, what their problems are. And this is a face-to-face meeting on the Microsoft team. And there are specific protocols for working from home, as also specific protocols for now working resuming the work from offices also. In certain countries, it has started. In our country, I think it is soon to start. So we are working on that as well. But at the same time, the issue is that the 2 or 3 months lockdown that has happened, it has really impacted our economy really badly, and all the Middle Eastern economy on which we are also very dependent because of lots of revenue that we get from them, from the people that we send to them on secondment. So in that context, our profitability is going to go down, and that is the challenge, that how we are going to manage that. We will actually reduce the owner's drawings to the maximum extent, but at some point in time, there will come a time when you have to basically look at the salary levels, and probably just to save the jobs of the people, may have to actually do some cuts. So those are the challenges that we are facing, and we are actually going to talk to our people. No, not happening in the next 3, 4, 5 months, for example. We are comfortable as far as for 4, 5 months are concerned. But I think there's a time lag. What economic problems that we have faced, the businesses will start facing it in the probably in the next 3, 4 months or afterwards. And then we will be having that impact on our business accordingly in 2021, because we work on a July to June basis. So that is the concern that we had, and this is something that we are, as an organization, are also working on it. But this is something for everyone to think about within Pakistan, all organizations, whether service or manufacturing, for example.
Definitely, Amir Saab, it's a crisis situation and everyone is suffering through it. And the best one can do is one thing which you just mentioned that you will be starting is to uh, have more and more communication with the team so that they have, if they have something to say, they should actually uh, stream out
Yes,
their
yes,
inner
yes.
part. So that is very important. Apart from that, some within that, if you can attach some motivational part to it, then that will also keep on motivating. I know few organizations over here. I don't want to name them, but what they have done is they have done different things. Like one organization, they have reduced a certain percentage of the salary, and at the same time they have reduced their working days as well. तो अगर कोई आदमी जो है उसकी उन्होंने से फॉर एग्जांपल 20% रिड्यूस सैलरी कर दिया, द पर्सन इज नाउ रिक्वायर्ड टू वर्क ओनली 3 days a week, and they also allowing that if during that time the person can do something online, और उसका जो एक ऑब्लिगेशन होता था कि आप एक कंपनी के साथ कर रहे हैं तो वो दूसरी के साथ नहीं कर सकते, वो भी आफ्टर अप्रूवल वन कैन ऑल्सो डू दैट टिल द सिचुएशन स्ट्रीमलाइंस. तो
जी, बिल्कुल सही.
क्राइसिस सिचुएशन है, बहुत
So
से
that
लोग
is actually happening in some of the practices in Europe that we have. 4-day
जी
working week has been introduced, for example.
जी
But one thing also I noted that many of these bricks and mortars companies are having big issues, but the technology companies are really having a field day here at the moment. And probably technology is the way to go for the future, because even Zoom, on which we are talking, its enterprise value right now, market capitalization is 48 billion,
हम्म,
and this is actually more than the combined value of all the American airline, or all the major airlines of the world, like Southwest, Delta, United, Lufthansa, American Airlines, Air France. So that is really something actually extraordinary. And then you know about Jeff Bezos. He has become the richest person in the world because Amazon share
जी
value has increased by more than 40%. So technology is the way to go basically in these
बिल्कुल
times, because we are dependent on technology right now only.
डेफिनेटली. और उसमें होगा यही कि ड्यूरिंग दिस टाइम one should start thinking about I would say diversification, addition, new product lines for the current business, के इसको किस तरह से further boost किया जा सकता है, कोई और product lines हो सकती हैं, so that before moving into a real impact, जैसे आप कह रहे हैं कि it can come in after 3 to 4 years, people should start thinking कि इसको किस तरह से बेहतर तरीके से सॉर्ट आउट किया जा सकता है कि इसका इम्पैक्ट जो है वो मिनिमाइज हो.
Right. You're right. Because the retail sector also is going to be impacted very badly, because many of the people, for example, I for myself, I'm not allowing my family to, my wife to go to a supermarket or a shopping mall. We are doing all our shopping online basically.
जी
So people are being actually sort of pushed towards doing this online,
बिल्कुल
which will actually increase their businesses as well. And the retail sector and those malls, for example, they are already being demolished in US, for example, and some Western countries, due to
जी
the rise of companies like Amazon and Best Buy. So those are the things that are actually going to happen in the future.
बिल्कुल जी. एक्चुअली द मॉडल जो है हमारा ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस, इट्स चेंजिंग. जैसे मैं पहले बता रहा था कि वन ऑफ माय कस्टमर दे आर इनटू फूड बिजनेस, उनका
जी
10% ऑनलाइन होता था, 80% डायरेक्ट होता था. इट हैज चेंज्ड, इट्स नाउ
जी
द अदर वे अराउंड.
yeah,
फिर
absolutely.
बहुत सी यहाँ पे रिटेल स्टोर्स हैं, आगाज है, इम्तियाज है, they have started online delivery.
Yeah,
आप उनको order देते हैं and they start delivering. So we have to actually start looking at what are the innovative ways to move forward, because the way
yeah.
of doing business is going
But
to
new
change a
business
lot.
models have to be now adopted
Bilkul.
by
And we
using
need to
these.
start working now.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, so the next question we have is from Fawad Kadir, and he's asking, what are the main factors affecting organizational effectiveness?
What are the main factors?
Affecting organizational effectiveness.
The main factors, as I told earlier, उसके अंदर देखें दो तीन चीजें होती हैं जिनके ऊपर आपको फोकस करना होता है. One is the leadership, जहां से आपके पास आपके डायरेक्शन आ रही होती है. The other is the human resource, जो कि उन डायरेक्शंस को इम्प्लीमेंट कर रही होती हैं. And it is all surrounded by systems and processes. So if you have a competent people, if you have the right leaders, and if you have the right process improvement plan, which is a continuous improvement plan to reduce the wastage and improve the efficiency, the organizational effectiveness will start going up.
Right. Then we have the comment and a question from Mr. Slaudin. At the end of the presentation, please share how to inculcate proactiveness in teams. No matter how much training is provided, somehow teams are not now adept at it. Any training program possible through MAP on enhancing proactiveness?
Sorry, Ushna, मुझे आपकी आवाज सही नहीं आई. Can you please repeat it?
Sure. Mr. Slaudin is saying that at the end of presentation, please share how to inculcate proactiveness in teams. No matter how much training is provided, somehow teams are now adept at it. In any training program possible through MAP on enhancing proactiveness?
Definitely, we can actually start, we can design a program for improving the proactiveness, and this can be coupled with a number of exercises and further coupled with team working as exercises, so that the proactive part and the win-win part can be combined together, which is the basic ingredient for moving forward. So we can definitely sit together and design a program. Sure.
Right. Another question from Fawad Kadir. What is the importance of KPIs, key performance indicator, in organizational effectiveness?
This is the most important part in any organizational effectiveness, operation, running, or you name it. क्योंकि अगर आपको पता ही नहीं है कि मैं आपको सिंपल सी एग्जांपल एक ये देता हूँ ना, कि अगर आपका बॉडी टेम्परेचर जो है, आप इससे अंदाजा लगाएं कि आजकल जब आप किसी शॉप में जाते हैं तो दे टेक योर टेम्परेचर, व्हिच इज अ की परफॉर्मेंस इंडिकेटर. So if they find that your temperature is not within the limits, they don't let you in, and they ask you to do something about it, and then you go to doctor and you take actions. Same is with the organization. If you do not know the health of an organization, then you are moving into dark. So it's very, very vital and critical to have key performance indicators for your organization.
Right. Mr. Wajahat Ali have asked, can you elaborate BSC for internal audit department? It's balance scorecard.
Okay, for any department, to the customer part, you find out that आपके क्या financial targets हैं जो आपको meet करने होते हैं. That goes their training needs, that goes into the training part, and you see your processes and you say these are the top 2 or top 3 important process within my internal control department, and I will map them, I will evaluate them, and I'll remove all the non-value adding items from that. So that will make your business balance scorecard. But it's a full, I would say, a process to make a business balance scorecard, and maybe you can give my email and number, and if he wants to discuss that in detail, then we can do that.
Perfect. Okay, and then there has a question from Mr. Iqbal, and he's asking, is there any effective tool to replace the bell curve of PMS?
So far, the bell curve is the tool which is being used. So I'm not aware if there is any other thing which is being used there.
Right. And further to the query you have responded to Mr. Zishan, he's saying, I do understand the bell curve. However, please consider it in relation to performance management sheet.
Performance management sheet. What does that mean?
You just replied to Zishan's query regarding the bell curve he asked. So he was further saying that I do understand.
Okay, the basic concept of the bell curve is what I told. Like it's a relative grading of a staff in an organization. ठीक है? अब उस relative को आपने जो internationally I would say after a research or evaluation वो किया है कि आपकी organization में एक certain percentage है जो average लोगों की होती है, एक certain percentage है जो outstanding लोगों की होती है, एक certain percentage है जो below average लोगों की होती है और in between. उसकी जो percentages हैं वो define करनी है. So when you go for an on a rating part, it has to be a relative rating. और relative rating के लिए यही होता है कि maybe there are 6 people who are doing excellent job, लेकिन उनमें जो 5 बेहतर होंगे, they will go into an outstanding rating. The other one will go into the next rating. अब वो performance management की क्या बात कर रहे हैं? I'm not sure if again you can give.
He's on the call, so he can just, he would like to speak to you like directly. Zishan sir, please.
I've just understood what you have said before, but since you have shared with us a performance management sheet, Amir sir, can you hear me?
आपकी आवाज बहुत कट रही है भाई.
अच्छा,
अब it's better.
अच्छा, okay. You have just in the previous slides you have shared with us a performance management sheet, wherein both the employees and employers are on the same page that what needs to be done, what are your KPIs. So at the end of the year, if someone of my team or everyone of my team meet all these objectives, then why should I apply a bell curve on them, which obviously deals with it.
देखिए जीशान साहब, as you said, अगर आपने वो काम कर लिए जो आपने उससे एग्री किए थे, तो आपकी जो रेटिंग होगी that will be called achieve expectation. ठीक है? And 60% of organization falls in achieve expectation. Achieve expectation के अंदर तो कोई इशू ही नहीं आता. इशू वहां आता है जहां पे बात होती है आउटस्टैंडिंग की, और आउटस्टैंडिंग रेटिंग उस आदमी की होती है जो अपनी एक्सपेक्टेशंस अचीव करने के अलावा कोई ऐसा काम भी कर देता है जो कि उससे एक्सपेक्ट नहीं किया जा रहा होता. ठीक है? तो ये रेटिंग.
And what about the ones which would be mandatorily downgraded? Let's say in our organization, at least 10% should be rated C or D, no matter how well they did.
नहीं, अब देखें, अब उसके अंदर जो है
the rule to be followed.
Okay, इसके अंदर जो है there is a proper system. आप सबसे पहले सुपरवाइजर जो है वो आपकी इवैल्यूएशन करता है. जब वो इवैल्यूएशन कर देता है तो 1 up जो बॉस होता है वो उसको देखता है, which is called a grandfather review. जब grandfather review हो रहा होता है तो उसके अंदर अगर कोई इस तरह का कॉन्फ्लिक्ट होता है तो that should be highlighted or identified and rectified. और उसके साथ साथ आपका जो HR डिपार्टमेंट है वो भी इसमें इन्वॉल्व होता है कि अगर इस तरह की कोई चीज हो रही है तो उसको सही किया जा सके. So there are multiple checks and controls within there. If those are used in true sense, then obviously things will go in the right direction. लेकिन अगर वो उस तरह से नहीं हो रहा, then nothing can go right, because this is just a tool and tool is run by people. If people are running the tool right, it will make things right. If it's not run right, it will not work right.
Thanks for the answer.
Ji Ushna, is there anything else?
Yes, Amir Saab, there is a query again from Ms. Mehak, and she's saying that most of the organizations fails to come up with the smart objectives and KPIs. So how just we can deal with that?
Again, वही वाली बात है जो मैंने during the session भी कही थी. It all depends on the training, and people start implementing things without proper training. So if you train people in objective setting and performance appraisal, then people will learn that what needs to be done, and they will start the process, start owning the process. So I think it's lack of training which doesn't end up in SMART goals. Otherwise, there is nothing in the SMART goal. It has to be specific, it has to be time bound, it has to be measurable. आपको जो काम करना है उसको अगर आप इन 3-5 चीजों के हवाले से डाल देते हैं, it will become a SMART objective. But again, it's very important to have the right training.
Amar Sahab, I have a question here.
जी sir.
I have seen the latest work being done on performance evaluation. The bell curve system is being given up. And there is a thought being developed in management that no such performance is required. So how do we go about these things?
Salahuddin साहब, आपकी आवाज क्लियर नहीं आई. Please, can you repeat?
Can you hear me now?
जी.
I said in most of the recent work being done on performance evaluation, the concept of bell curve is being given up. And people are looking for alternative performance measures. So is there anything new to say get rid of bell curve and come out with something new? Because it was considered that bell curve, when it renders people into forced ranking, it is unfair for some people. And the literature going on performance evaluation is mostly indicating towards not having any performance evaluation. So there are very conflicting views floating in the management school of thought on that. Any new perspective you would like to share with us?
जी, इसमें एक्चुअली जो मोस्टली फॉल हो रहा है वो तो आपका बेल कर्व भी हो रहा है, बट ऑन एन एक्सपेरिमेंटल बेसिस सम ऑफ द ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस ने ये कहा है कि जी उन्होंने एक लिमिट्स लगा दिया कि जी इस लिमिट से ऊपर जितने होंगे दे आर ऑल हाई फ्लायर्स एंड दे विल गेट द बेस्ट आउट ऑफ इट एक्चुअली, और उससे जो नीचे जाएंगे उसका लिए कुछ और है, एंड फाइनली दूसरा है. एक चीज जो इवेलुएट हो रही है उसके अंदर एक सिस्टम इवेलुएट हो रहा है, उस वो है बेस्ड ऑन अगेन इट्स द बेसिस इज द परफॉर्मेंस एंड द वैल्यूज, और उसके उन्होंने 4 क्वाड्रेंट्स डाल दिए हैं. एक वो है जिसकी के जो वैल्यूज भी मीट कर रहा है, परफॉर्मेंस भी मीट कर रहा है, वो उनका जो है वो हाई पोटेंशियल ग्रेड में चलेगा. एक वो है जो कि वैल्यूज को मीट कर रहा है लेकिन आपकी परफॉर्मेंस नहीं दे रहा, उसको उन्होंने एक क्वाड्रेंट में डाल दिया है, और उसके लिए उन्होंने कहा है कि जो पहला वाला था जो कि वैल्यू और परफॉर्मेंस दोनों दे रहा था, दैट इज हाई फ्लायर और हाई पोटेंशियल. जो वैल्यूज के ऊपर पूरा उतर रहा है लेकिन परफॉर्मेंस नहीं दे रहा, उसको उन्होंने कहा है कि he needs training and we need to train him. तो दूसरा वाला है जो कि वैल्यूज में भी हाई, जो वैल्यूज में भी लो है और परफॉर्मेंस में भी लो है, उसको उन्होंने डाल दिया है I would say departure launch में, and the person is supposed to leave the organization. और जो तीसरा रह जाता है जिसकी के परफॉर्मेंस बहुत अच्छी है लेकिन वैल्यू वाइज वो अच्छा नहीं है, the same person is also on the departure launch. So, जो ये 2 नीचे के हैं इनको वो डिपार्चर लॉन्च में और उनका एग्जिट प्लान बनाते हैं, और जो टॉप नॉच में 2 हैं, वन इज द हाई फ्लायर जो कि वैल्यू भी परफॉर्म कर रहा है और परफॉर्मेंस के अगेंस्ट भी परफॉर्म कर रहा है, वो हाई फ्लायर हो गया. और जो वैल्यूज पे बहुत हाई है लेकिन परफॉर्मेंस नहीं आ रही, उसको उन्होंने ट्रेनिंग पाथ पे डाल दिया. सो दिस इज व्हाट फ्यू ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस आर यूजिंग.
Can I put in
I
some
think Usman, just hang on for a while. Usman, just hang on. Amir sir, that gives me another food for thought now that we need to have another training with you on that. What is the
Okay.
latest thought process going on performance evaluation? But then we have Uzma here from KPMG. Let's see what she has to say on that. Yes, Uzma, go ahead.
What Amir Saab had pointed out, and KPMG also, we all the 9 competencies and behaviors, and then the professional financial targets. So you're always assessed on the basis of behaviors and values being exhibited while achieving the financial targets. So the rating is given based on that. This has been done before, long before. So it's always, you see, assessment and rating is based on the fact that what kind of values were exhibited, what kind of behaviors were exhibited while achieving those financial targets.
जी, thank you, Uzma.
अच्छा, दूसरे एक मेरा क्वेश्चन था कि about what you've shared is like win-win situation and abundance mentality. But what about when you come across people with a fixed mindset and they have a negative thing, and then you just have to somehow, because if there is in a team, 1 or 2 such people would definitely make this win-win situation become very difficult to achieve. So anything one can do about fixed mindset is like things can be done in a certain way, and so if there is something change or something different coming up, they're always resistant. Resistance is always there, it's understood, but then there's this resistance which finally accepts, moves towards accepting. One is like not accepting. So how to deal with this kind of slot?
Do you want a very direct answer?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so what organizations are doing is this comes under the value part. And if a person is becoming a hindrance to your growth, that means that the person is not good at its value. So one of the way is to show the exit. The other thing is, if you want to give, the other thing is that if you want to give time, then what happens is the person is put on a more frequent appraisal system, जिसमें कि आप उसको every monitor कर रहे होते हैं every month or every quarter, or this is done through a proper counseling, coaching, and mentoring. If the person changes with that, then the person gets into the streamline again, and if it doesn't, then again the person has to go.
Amir Saab, this was an excellent presentation, and we very explicit and very what should I say, smoothly shared.
Thank you very much.
So do we have anyone else who would like to ask any question? I have requested participants who would like to ask question over the mic. They can just unmute themselves and can ask the question right away.
I think everyone is exhausted by now.
Yeah, I think so. So let's just wrap up. And I would like to thank Amir Saab, Salahuddin sir, and Amir Saab to you as well for joining us, for taking out time, and participants who have joined us today for making this happen. So thank you so much, everyone. And if you have any queries and you would like to raise any questions, something, you can just connect with us and connect with Amir Saab as well. And we would like to also tell you that MAP's YouTube channel is there, and the upload video and this presentation would be uploaded over there. So whosoever would like to see it later on, they can just log into the MAP's YouTube channel and then can visit the video.
Thank you, Ushna.
Hang on for
Thank you very much, Amir Saab, for an excellent presentation. Sorry, Salahuddin Saab, please continue.
No, I was just trying to say thank you to State Bank, who has been the major participant organization for this program today. Without them, this was not possible. So all thanks to State Bank of Pakistan.
And thank you, Amir Saab, for an excellent presentation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, and may Allah bless you all.
All right. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.